Damn, dude.
I recall the past again tonight. It's in the front of my mind. As I fall apart, you begin to cry. The tears are making you blind. The future's far away, but I'll stay. I'll stay. Just take a leap of faith. We'll find a way for you and me. Can't look back and run from what I feel inside. There's no more time to hide. Because I feel again. I feel again. Oh, now strangers. Believe me when I say, loving me is loving danger. Your heart is bound to break. I walk alone in the night, neath the pale moon. Loving's for the fools. Baby, beware of my bite. I'm alone, I'm alone, I'm a lone wolf. 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 I'm a creeping through the shadows and the corners of your mind. I go where the wind blows. I run but I don't hide. I hear the call of the wild, whispering my name. No, I can't be tamed. My heart belongs to the night. I'm alone, I'm alone, I'm a lone wolf. 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 I'm a
All right, guys, we are here. We're just having a conversation before the stream as usual.
Hello everyone.
How are you, bro? You good?
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah. Don't mind us. We're just we're talking about how to take over the world and do it for the benefit of humanity, and unlike WEF and shit. All right. So, alright guys, here we are, obviously. So we have got the big story for the day, which is the Devon Archer going through and testifying. We will be doing that one last, just because of the fact that it is so fluid. It is literally still happening. There is still reactions coming into it and everything like that. So we're going to have a little bit of fun. This is probably going to be a long podcast today, guys. So grab a drink, grab something to eat, put it on the background if you want, because we're going to cover some serious shit. Like, we are going to do some serious damage to the World Economic Forum today. And if we don't have a show tomorrow, you know why. We're going to cover 15-minute cities, the Great Reset. We're going to cover fucking the digital currencies. The pandemic pack. We're going to cover, like, people's going through talking about how they want to stop shipping around the world, all sorts of crazy notions that these WEF people have, and I use the word people because I don't want to swear, but these WEF people have thoughts on.
You don't have to swear. You could just say these lizards, but.
The lizard people are here. They're taking over. Well, don't
They are. That's the thing. I think they are.
And this is the thing, right? If there were really lizard people, you think that the worst thing that they would want is a friggin' stable climate. Don't lizards love, like, hot, sunny days and warm days?
I think that's a good point.
Like,
Mate,
the
well, maybe
lizard
they're-
people
what about
should
insects?
want climate change.
Insects are. Do insects also want warmth?
Yeah, they love warmth.
I don't
They,
know, then.
they love extremes, actually. Like, even lizard people, I imagine they'd also love the cold as well, right? Like, I used to have a pet lizard as a pet, and
Maybe,
so anyway, it used to go outside, bask in the sun, heat up, and then goes inside and spend the rest of the day inside. So who knows? I don't. God damn it! I hit the friggin'. There we go. I hit the button again. But what I was going to say was, as for the lizard people and stuff, you'd think that they would want. Yeah. Obviously, guys, we're trolling. We don't really think there's lizard people. Like, yeah, calm down.
Yeah. The only thing I can only wonder is that maybe because they're alien lizards, they have like a completely different notion of what warmth is.
Are you
Or
saying
what that temperature range is, you know.
Are you saying we should do a whole podcast on aliens?
Sure. That
What?
is exactly what I said.
One day we should do like a whole podcast on aliens.
That
All right.
would be funny.
I spoke to one girl doing my man in the street, and we were talking about Elvis, and I was telling her about how Elvis went through, and the conspiracy theory is that he actually faked his death. How supposedly the Graceland inside was not open at the time. It was only the outside area that was open. First of all, it was like a couple of weeks until like the inside was open. People reported seeing Elvis standing in the window of the Graceland mansion, and how he actually was instrument in bringing down the FBI, the drug cartels, by being an informant for the FBI. And she was like, yeah, wanting to know all this stuff, and she's like, you should do a podcast on that. She said, you should do that on your podcast. And I'm like, I suppose, yeah, I don't know, yeah. Anyway, let's jump into it. Reckon we're stalled long enough?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys, welcome. It's not. Yep, I've got to. All right, guys, welcome to the Unbiased Perspectives podcast, volume 16. Today we're gonna cause some ruckus. So we're gonna talk about the WEF, their plans for this new world order. We're going to talk about Klaus Schwab that wants to go through and remove elections and saying elections are not going to be necessary. We're going to go through and talk about these people that want to stop shipping around the world. And that's not a good thing. Bad. Because of climate change. And then we're probably going to also we're going to talk about things like, for example, 15-minute, 20-minute cities. We're going to go through and talk about the Great Reset, digital currency, and the pandemic pack, and how it is all related. And then we're also going to talk about the celebrities. This is probably going to be the first story for today. The celebrities are flipping out over Twitter, becoming X, and they have this stunning and brave idea on how to stop it. It's a doozy. And then we've also got, obviously, towards that, we'll also, at the end of the show, we're going to cover the Devon Archer thing. He is obviously testifying before Congress, or the House, I think it was. Under oath, by the way, that Burisma paid them to actually go through and talking about the Hunter Biden and Joe Biden deals, and all the pay to play and all this sort of stuff. And obviously the partisans are obviously at it. If you're pro Joe Biden, you obviously don't think this is a big thing. If you're anti Joe Biden, or if you have any common sense, you think this is a bad thing. But we'll get into that probably at the end because it is still literally happening as we speak. But let's go through and let's talk about the stunning and brave people who want to stop using Twitter for a day.
I'm already laughing and you haven't even started this.
It's a doozy, it really is. So Mark Hamill has said, tomorrow is August the 1st, tweet out day.
Oh God.
Okay.
Tweet out.
If you're planning on tweeting out tomorrow, that's probably kind of productive for what you want. But join me and Sergeant Pepper, whoever that is, and the whole world in not tweeting.
Oh, Peppa Pig, yeah. Sergeant Peppa Pig.
Right. Yeah, I've got it as Mrs. Sergeant Pepper.
Yeah. Peppa Pig.
And so apparently him, Mrs. Sergeant Pepper or Peppa Pig, and the whole world are not going to be tweeting tomorrow. I'm glad Mark Hamill is speaking for the whole world. Although the problem is that I'm probably still going to be tweeting tomorrow. So, well, it's the first over here already. So I'm already tweeting.
Technically you're Xing.
Yes, and but yeah, it's I won't dignify accusations of this being a political statement when it is, in fact, simply an experimental stunt because I'm bored and I want to see what happens. No, it's a political stunt.
Okay, yeah.
When you have to say this is not a political stunt in your first tweet, it's a political stunt because that's what's on your mind. Like, if I was to say to you, I'm absolutely not going to sleep with my neighbour's wife, just off the cuff, for example, right? You'd be like, bro, you gotta go sleep with your neighbour's wife. Right? Like, it's that sort of like, you're already trying to downplay it and like, without anybody accusing it of being, I know. Anyway,
if you don't want your tires slashed, don't do that anyway.
Yeah, but it's probably not a good idea to sleep with your neighbour's wife anyway, right? Anyway, so I made a response to this, obviously, because I can't help but troll. Gotta love these people who are so outraged by Elon Musk changing the logo and the name, but the most they can do is stop using Twitter for a whole day.
I can confirm, by the way, on my phone. And you probably checked too by now. The Twitter app literally has changed to X in the name and the logo.
You know what? I haven't checked. I've spent most of this morning sleeping or on the toilet, so I'm still not feeling.
The update is out. The app has been updated every year. It actually, the logo is actually pretty good. I actually like it. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
But the name is the problem. The name is the issue. Like, I can't imagine what it would be like to search X.
Well, I do have to wonder, what is a fiction with the word or letter X's? But anyway, we'll break that down in a sec. Via Fry has said, the stunning courage and bravery it takes to change the world by not tweeting for a whole day. Laughing emoji. Someone else has responded with, good luck with the stunt. You know what? I'm going to tweet even harder, is the meme. Jacob Avery said, make it 24 hours. Actually, a week. How about a month? A year would work. Might get some peace.
That is interesting.
People obviously just don't want to hear from Mark Hamill for a year. And then other people are like, obviously he has got his supporters who said, I'm with Mark. Tweetless Tuesday apparently is the hashtag that they're using. Some of us may be in a pickle about this, given Mark's incredible support for Ukraine. So my position is we will do it on Tuesday We got a request from a unit on the front line. In my opinion, the priority is the frontline soldiers. So they're talking about this Ukraine thing? I have no idea. Anyway, everyone commit to 100 tweets tomorrow with Elon giving the thumbs up. Yeah.
Something interesting I just looked at, by the way, was actually, I don't know how. I'm guessing Elon maybe paid Google or something. I don't know, but you type X into the Play Store, and the first thing below the ads, the sponsored stuff, is X. The Twitter, the X Twitter.
Okay.
It's like, oh wow, okay. Well, there you go. I know he must have paid a lot of money for that.
He's got a fair bit. Anyway, so at the end of the day, obviously the official tweet or the thing, it's Tweetless Tuesday. Tweetless Tuesday, on August my birthday, so here's your chance to wish me a happy birthday before we don't tweet tomorrow. So there are people that are going to be doing this, but like I said, just the fact that the people that are doing this, or the people that are pushing for this, are the ones that are like Trump derangement syndrome, and that I could literally go a month or a year without listening from. Like, I imagine tomorrow on Twitter is going to be just really, really good. It's just going to be so pleasant and surprised. Weren't all these people supposed to go to like Mastodon and the Facebook rival Threads and all that? What happened to these people leaving the platform?
I do not know.
Weren't they
Never left.
Weren't they supposed to be doing that?
Yeah, I think the addiction is really strong.
Well, you know, at the end of the day, how are they going to survive not tweeting tomorrow? Like I say, at the end of the day, it's just, it's like, come on, people, you're supposed to commit to this. You had one job.
Yeah, you had one job. Leave Twitter. I don't. Oh, do you remember? Not just them saying that they were going to leave Twitter, but like they were going to do the whole Mastodon thing.
Yeah, that's what I said. What happened to Mastodon?
Yeah, well, I know what happened to Mastodon. They kind of got kicked out.
Yeah, because the left eats itself eventually, always.
Well, no, that wasn't it. I mean, yes and no. Basically, because of the purity testing and the eating of itself thing the left does, the way that Mastodon works, the way that the whole thing works is that you know how it's a decentralized servers all over the place, and all of the moderators are kind of like, you know, a loose group of moderators across many servers kind of thing, and they all talk to each other, and they have like rules, you know, otherwise the servers disconnect from each other and all kinds of crazy stuff like that. Well, there was a lot of infighting and people disconnecting servers from each other because of issues, and moderators started basically getting absolutely fed up with these people that went there from Twitter, because they were constantly reporting things, and they were then being told, we're going to start banning the people that do the mass reporting. If you don't like what you're looking at, use the block button, not the report button.
Oh boy.
And all that kind of stuff. The moderators got absolutely just fed up with it. These people are such snowflakes that, yeah, it was, yeah. So eventually they all went back to Twitter, because they all basically were getting kicked out of there. That, yeah. I mean, Mastodon is not the kind of thing that has trust and safety councils funded with billions of dollars a year. You know what I mean? They don't have time for that shit.
At the end of the day, this is the problem, and this is what, you know, at the time when Threads started, right? I turned around and I said, this is probably going to be a flash in the pan. It's probably going to last a month, and then at the end of that, no one's going to care. And
I was surprised that it was a flash in the pan. I thought it lasted at least a few months. Not, wow, that was like a weekend and it was dead. Like, holy crap!
Within a week,
was amazing.
Within a week, it lost half of its base. And you know, and it's
wow,
just,
huh?
yeah. But it's yeah, it's yeah. But anyway, who would have thought, you know, like that? But this is the reason why that these oh well, actually he's actually gone through and someone's put up a possible new logo. Someone's designed a new logo for X.
Another new logo.
Yeah, it sort of incorporates both. There you go, DM'd it to you. But yeah, but like I say, at the end of the day, that no one was surprised when like Mastodon and these threads and all these sort of programs didn't work, because at the end of the day, the thing is that as much as the left love to scream and sit there and scream about how, you know, like how we want, you know, we want the right gone, they love to argue. They love to try and make out that they know so much and that they're so much better than everybody. So when you start putting them in an echo chamber, it doesn't work, because it's like, well, like, what's the point? You're literally arguing with yourselves, and that's just boring for them. As much as they hate the right, they need the right, because at the end of the day, because they need someone to fight with. You know, what's the point in being a revolutionary if everybody is a revolutionary, right?
Correct, yeah.
I like that logo actually. I like the blue one actually, but
I've got a funny logo that I'll give you. You can show it on the stream. It's really good. I just want to get a good picture of it. See if I can zoom this up, because I don't know where he got it from, but it's on a video. It's on a video thumbnail, and yeah. How do you? Oh, that's how you zoom. Okay, here we go. I got it. So there it is. It's pretty funny. There you go.
oh boy.
Yeah, it's like a Frankenstein.
Is that like a head or something? Is it?
Yeah. Basically, cut the bird up, and then stitch it back together in a different order to make an X.
But like under it, it looks like there's a neck or something there.
Under it? Oh no, it's just a thumbnail. I don't know.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, I cut the
It is pretty funny actually. I will admit, it is pretty funny. But yeah. All right. Any other thoughts that we have on the on X or Twitter, or these people, these idiots not tweeting on Twitter for a day? You reckon?
Yeah.
You reckon anything's going to happen? Do you reckon it's going to be? Do you reckon they're going to tweet tomorrow, or you reckon they're going to be able to stay off Twitter for a day?
Let me think. You know what? I reckon they'll be super hypocritical. They maybe they'll actually manage to stay out, or like to not tweet. But I bet you they'll be like browsing, at least.
Probably.
Like lurking, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
I don't think they can hold it.
Yeah, I think he'll probably. I reckon if he does tweet, it's going to be like 1 minute past midnight, or yeah, like it's going to be like as soon as he can, just so he, you know, people can't say like, but you tweeted on the 1st. So he'll wait to like the midnight of the 1st and until it's after midnight and then tweet. Like he'll literally be sitting there with like the Twitter like already written out, ready to tweet, and just waiting for it to tick over at midnight so he can like not be a hypocrite.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's like you're claiming to not use Twitter for a day. This is your brave and stunning move. Like, how? Really? This is how you're going to affect change in the world, is by not tweeting for a day. Are you kidding? Like, this is it? This is all you can muster? Like, okay. Good luck with that, I suppose. I don't know. It's kind of sad, really. But, you know, the addiction with Twitter is strong with these people, I suppose. But, alright, guys. Let us know what your thoughts are in that comment section below regarding this. Like I said, personally, I think it's laughable. I'm going to be tweeting tomorrow, no matter what. I love Mark Hamill as an actor. As a person, I think he's kind of a shitty person, though. But let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Alright, UK fires. You want to take the lead on this one?
Yeah.
Alright, so what is the UK fires?
From what I've been able to gather, they're a progressive NGO of some kind. And they're pushing a narrative of absolute zero. And have you got the PDF for presentation purposes?
Yep.
All right, it's on screen for the audience.
Yep.
All right, so the website and this document are related. This document, I don't know. I don't know who it's for exactly. My guess is because it starts with an executive summary, that this is the document that they use to pitch this to governments and organizations. But
right.
And the thing is that this is UK fires is not insignificant. So if you go for page 1, right, executive summary, and then if you look on the left, it's got all of these.
You mean page 2? Page 2 is the executive summary. First page is the logo and the
Well,
page.
You don't include page number on the logo. It says absolute zero, page 1.
Right. Okay. I'm going by So I'm going by the PDF viewers page numbering system.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you look, it says copyright University of Cambridge 2019. And it was first published on the 29th of November 2019, so we're actually a little late to the party. Actually, a lot of people are. This is only just starting to get some attention now.
Right.
Yeah. It's got University of Nottingham, Bath, Strathclyde, the Oxford University, Imperial College. And you've got some names here. I don't think we've got to go into the names.
No.
And like find out exactly who these people are. I think we could, that might take this. I don't want this to take more than like an hour, But if you're in the audience, I would encourage to look some of these people up and find out who they're affiliated with. Because
I imagine there's a fair bit of blue hair dye and and a lot of
maybe not
Trump derangement syndrome and.
I'd be more thinking that you start looking into who these people are and you start finding them on multiple boards of other NGOs, and it all traces back to the usual suspects like World Economic Forum, that kind of thing. It's more of what I'm sort of talking about.
Right.
So if you want to look at this, the key messages for industrial sectors and for individuals. So do you want to cover industrial and individuals, just individuals, or do you want to do both or one of them?
So I think the biggest thing that we probably could easily sum this all up is on page 5 of the PDF viewer, where it's that chart where it says 20 to 2029, 2030 to 2040, 2050 to absolute zero, and beyond 2050. And it basically has a list of like road vehicles, rail, flying, shipping, heating, appliances, food, fossil fuels.
Okay, yeah, if you want to jump to that. All right.
Yeah.
So, all right, I'll start reading out some of this stuff for you. So, for road vehicles, 2020 to 2029, development of petrol diesel engine ends. Any new vehicle introduced from now on must be compatible with absolute zero. Now, further up, it kind of identifies the absolute vehicles that are absolute zero is electric cars, EVs.
Yep.
Right. Now, but some of the other things that does go on here, all right. I think I know how I might be able to do this in a structured way. So, all right. 2030 to 2049, all vehicles and the sizes of them are reduced to just 1 ton. So there goes your SUVs and forward drives and stuff. Definitely sedans are usually like you have to go back to like old Commodores, and even they are like 1.2 to 1.3 tons, so go smaller, more like Mazda 6,
Yeah.
but with weight reductions kind of thing.
Not only
Because
that,
even
but
Mazda 6s weigh like 1.4, 1.5 tons.
not even
Yeah.
that. But at the end of the day, the fact is
Yeah.
that electric vehicles are generally heavier than their petrol
Mhm.
counterparts. I have an EV
Yeah.
right now. I'll just keep it as an EV. And I can tell you now, the EV that I have is close to over 2 ton.
Yeah, and that's a hybrid. If you go
Yeah.
full EV, it gets even heavier because the density of batteries, the weight, is higher than that of an engine. Like, it's crazy. Like, Tesla's weigh over 2 tons.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, one of the scariest things to me personally, I drive a Mazda 6, right? I find SUVs and EVs a little bit scary because if I crash into one of those, either one of those, their kinetic energy is going to be at least 60% to 70% more than mine. I'm gonna get effed up more than any of they are.
So
Like
just
I you know.
just to talk about the weight for a sec for the Teslas. Tesla Roadshow 2.7, Model S is 4.7, Model X is 5.1 pounds, 1,000 pounds. Model 3 is roughly 4,000 pounds. Model Y is 4.4 thousand pounds.
I don't know what that is in tons.
Yeah, so excuse me. Hey, ChatGPT, help me out here. So how much is in tons? So the equivalent is to average convert pounds to tons. You can use a factor. Therefore, is equivalent to 2 metric tons. Hang on. If I have a car that is that, how many tons is that? Yeah, so roughly about 2.2 ton. So yeah, so like the average car here, like the Roadster is the smallest, the lightest.
Yeah.
And I think that breaks down to 1.2 tons for the Roadster. Which is a 2-door car, by the way. So, like I say, at the end of the day, like, hey, John, how are you, buddy? So, like I say, at the end of the day, you're basically going through and removing the vast majority of your cars because, well, we can't do it. Yeah.
And I've looked at this. Basically, if you look at it truthfully, for the past few years, when they say that reducing the use of cars and switching to EVs, the reality has been, and I've suspected this, and a lot of people have suspected this for a long time, other YouTubers and people, that the reality is that no, you're not going to be driving at all. That's what the 15-minute city is for.
Yeah.
Right? It's that you're not going to be using cars.
Yeah.
You're going to be using mopeds, electric scooters, or something.
Bikes and shit, pedal power and stuff. Yeah.
Or bikes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, when
then-
you move the cars, oh sorry.
Yeah, and then I was going to say absolute zero for 2050 is road users at 60% of 2020 level through reducing distance traveled or reducing vehicle weight. And then beyond 2050, you have the new options for energy storage linked to expanding non-emitting electricity may allow demand of growth. I like the fact they've got may allow.
Yeah.
Like, then
Now, this is where it gets interesting because you don't have to scroll, but you need to understand something about the rail section actually. Uh, traveling. So the impact of our traveling depends on how far we travel and how we do it. The most efficient way to travel is with a large number of people traveling in a vehicle with a small front, and we can all reduce our total annual mileage. One of the things that goes into this is trains. Uh, on one of the pages, if the trains are moving slower, they are more efficient.
Okay.
This is true. Just as one example, here in Australia, one of the reasons that when you go into like the city and you're near one of those entry points that go down into the underground rail system, so
Mm.
like the staircase,
Yep.
and there's a distinctive smell, right? Like you know what I'm talking about. There's like a distinctive smell of underground railway.
Yep.
And what that actually is, it's the smell of the copper windings and and like a resin that's on the copper windings running hot.
Yeah.
And the reason we do this here in Australia is because we actually overclock the trains so that they run faster. I'm not kidding. That it increases their acceleration and stuff, and so the voltage is higher than what it should be. And they run hot. Um, it doesn't really damage anything as long as you've got adequate cooling. It's fine. Clearly, the trains are not like blowing up or anything, you know.
Well,
Um,
depends on which state you're in.
but
Some of the trains up in Queensland tend to have problems.
well, yeah, maintenance. I mean, if you're going to overclock them, you probably need more maintenance too. Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is that we're running inefficiently by actually overclocking them. When we should, well, yeah. So if they're saying here the growth in domestic and international rail as substitute for flights and low occupancy car travels, and we're back onto the grid now.
Mm.
So 2030 to 2050, they're saying further growth with expanded network and all electric trains. Rail becomes dominant mode for freight as shipping declines. So they want to move the freight to rail, but don't worry, this is stupid. Electric
Hang
trains
on,
are
hang on, hang on,
set
hang
for
on, hang on,
2050
hang on,
absolute
hang on,
zero.
hang on.
What?
Just a question. How are we supposed to get these trains to go over the water?
Well, I do not know that.
Are they going to build tunnels under the ocean?
Well,
Okay.
they can't because they can't because they're not going to use concrete.
And not only that, but like the first time there's an earthquake, that underwater tube that goes between, like for example, Australia and New Zealand, is going to become a fishbowl.
Yeah, yeah, but just keep in mind they can't be building tunnels or bridges or things because that they're not going to have concrete. We're not going to be using concrete and steel.
Yeah, that's further down under construction. Any cement must be produced in closed loop. New building high optimizers. Like, this is fucking crazy. Hang on, let's keep going. Let's try and get through this
Yeah.
because I don't want to really spend an hour listening to these fuckwits talk.
Electric trains the preferred mode of travel, and people and freight over significant distances. Back when you go beyond 2050, the train speeds increase again with increasing availability of zero emissions electricity. So the speed can go back up. So not only will you have to use public transport, but it's going to move slower because we want to be more efficient. So remember, the bread lines were designed to waste your time, and that was actually on purpose. Well, let's do this here with travel. Shipping. This is the one where
no,
I think
flying,
it's going to
flying.
trigger the most people.
Flying. We missed flying.
Oh, sorry, flying, yeah. All airports except for Heathrow, Glasgow, and Belfast close with transfers by rail. Like literally, they're closing all but 3 airports.
And they just happen to be the 3 that are over in the UK.
Well, yeah. So this is starting off with the UK, but just remember, like anything that it's going to spread. Especially Australia. The UK and Australia are kind of joined at the hip, right? So we should be worried. And Canada may or may not need to be worried. I don't know how connected they still are to the royal family, but yeah.
Anyway.
Or UK. But anyway, and then by 2050, they're saying that all remaining airports close. There
Right.
will be no flight.
Right.
Yeah. That's
Cuckoo.
insane.
Cuckoo. Yep.
Yeah.
And
And it continues to be closed
yep, up
all the
until
way.
2050, where electric planes may fly. I like the fact may with synthetic fuel once there's excess non-emissions electricity supplies. So the only way we'll be able to fly over is past 2050, and that may be an electric plane. Maybe we can sort of maybe work it out. Okay, these guys are fucking cooking.
Yeah.
Right,
And
shipping.
you can see here. Sorry.
Let's go to shipping. Sorry, let's get through this because these guys are just fucking idiots. I'm sorry, but it's just annoying me.
And you just think of this too, the fact that like there doesn't appear to be any way of international travel.
No.
This does not. There is no international travel under these rules.
Mm.
There are currently no freight ships operating without emissions, so shipping must contract.
Mm-hmm.
And then by 2050, all shipping declines to 0.
Right. Because we're going to use trains, apparently.
Yeah, the thing is there might be a what do you call it? Like a supply chain that is within a country, but what's the solution to the international supply chain of things that need to come and go?
But too big. We're gonna build magic tunnels under the ocean that don't use concrete and survive apparently, you know, landslides or earthquakes or some shit.
Yeah, and the other thing too is, from my understanding, a lot of the third world countries, they literally rely on imports for food because they can't make it there. So
I don't know.
Just...
South America and South Africa have a pretty big export on lithium and cobalt at the moment.
Yeah, but there's no shipping.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to do this. 2050, they're saying beyond 2050 is some naval ships operate with onboard nuclear power, and new storage options may allow electric power. Nuclear power on a shipping ship.
Yeah. Well, we have nuclear-powered
Okay.
submarines, so I suppose it's not much different from that.
Yeah, it can work. I don't know why we just don't do it now. Why do we have to wait? But okay. Heating for your house.
Because anything after 2050 is not going to happen. It's
Yeah.
it's the carrot and the stick, right? Hey, yeah, after 2050, you may be able to go back to shipping after we've sufficiently saved the planet. And then when it gets close to that, they're just going to move the goalpost. They're going to be a case of, well, look, at the end of the day, we haven't saved the planet enough. You can't have your shipping back. And they're just going to keep moving the goalpost time after time after time again.
Yeah, that's how I see it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kicking the can down the road forever.
Yeah. Heating. Electric heating pumps replace gas boilers, and building retrofits, air tightness, insulation, and external shading expand rapidly. It's funny you mentioned that because isn't that what Victoria's doing right now?
Yes.
Program to provide all interior heating and heating pumps and energy retrofits for all buildings. Heating powered on for 60% of today's usage, and open to increasing the heating and cooling supply of not emitting electricity depends. So obviously the 2050 stuff is not going to happen, but they want to reduce the heating by 60%, and they want to go through and they want to look at the end of the day.
No, 60% of today's use means a 40% reduction.
Yes, exactly right. So at the end of the day, look, obviously at the end of the day, making places airtight, insulating them and stuff like that, obviously that's good, right? We don't complain about that. But considering, I think it's Melbourne just recently has gone through and has banned any gas stoves for new buildings, I kind of make you wonder if these guys maybe have signed up to this.
Oh, undoubtedly. All states are going to be doing most or some of this stuff. Because
the next thing is appliances, gas cookers phased out. Well, that's literally what's happening in Melbourne right now.
Yeah. I know that you want to get through this quickly, but please allow me to look at something here.
Dude, I'm so bored listening to these fuckwits talk, and I imagine if I'm bored, I imagine other people are just going to be sitting there thinking like, this is just fucking crazy and boring.
You okay? Let me just cover this one little thing. Okay,
Yep.
there's a key message on one of the pages, and let me read it for you.
Sure.
Um, Apart from flying and shipping, all of our current uses of energy could be electrified. With tremendous commitment, the UK could generate enough non-emitting electricity to deliver about 60% of our current final energy demand. But we could make better use of that through incremental changes in the technologies that convert energy into transport, heating, and products. The word here was incremental. Right? That's one of the main things, and like there's a whole paragraph here. You don't want to go through that much of it. They talk about incremental a lot in this PDF, and the idea is kind of think of like slow nudges. The way they do it is by incrementally changing things and using an opt-in system. Your life is going to become more and more shitty and a pain in the ass until you opt in to all of these things that they're putting that they're going to be instituting. So like if you don't want to have gas, sorry, if you want to have gas in your house, well, you can't. So that's going to make your life shitty, so you opt into only electricity. Like the way they're doing this is taking away things incrementally and changing them incrementally so that it's like the frog boiling in the pan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My question is this: is how are they going to produce electricity? So further down we have electricity. Wind and solar supply grows as rapid as possible with association, storage, and disruptions. Rapid expansion and electrification of end users. Right.
Yeah.
We already know that solar and wind farms don't produce enough electricity.
Correct.
So, if we're going to use wind and solar, are they wanting to cover the world in just a mass amounts of wind farms? Is that what they're and solar farms? Is that what are we going to have to bulldoze the Amazon forest because we want to put up fucking wind turbines to save the environment?
No, you don't have to do that. If I wanted to be somewhat fair, there are technologies just around the corner that will double the output of solar panels from, because at the moment the best solar panels, the ones I own, my solar panels are 22% efficient, which basically just means that 22% of the energy that hits it actually goes out as electrons out, and I can use it. There's going to be 40-50% efficiency just around the corner. Battery technology is actually, we're on the cusp of some really cool shit going on, so who knows what comes of that. Things like sodium ion, so that we don't even need to mine lithium anymore, or at least we don't have to do the lithium thing so drastically. And if we use sodium iron phosphate batteries, you don't even need cobalt, so that's amazing. We can already do lithium without cobalt. That's lithium iron phosphate. But yeah, anyway. So there's some cool ideas, there's some cool things that exist. I mean, it can be done. It's actually not, I mean, to be fair, it actually can be done. If you put the money and the resources behind the production. But the production is of itself a huge carbon, like, you know about the concept of embodied carbon, right? Like,
well, we have massive blades from 20-foot wind turbines.
Wind turbines are bullshit.
Yeah, and we've covered this already. We covered this a few days ago. I think it was mid last week. There's fields of these massive blades where they're just sitting there rotting because they don't have the energy or the means to go through and break these down, and they're basically just landfilling them. And these blades only last... Yeah, it's fiberglass resin, I think it was.
Fiberglass resin, yeah.
Yeah, and
I think you can recycle fiberglass, but because it's fiberglass resin, like it's resined.
Well, you can.
You can
recycle these blades, and the only place there's apparently one place in the world that does it. But at the end of the day, it just takes a massive amount of energy. It's not economical. Blah 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 blah. But at the end of the day, what I was getting at is that if we're going to go building, say we build 100 times more solar farms and wind farms that we already have, What's going to happen to all these solar panels and wind farm blades in 10 years when they start failing? We're going to throw them into landfill.
Well, technically, solar panels should last closer to 20 years when they're built properly. The reason that they tend to die 10 to 15 is because of a quality control problem, because of a certain country that... And you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah, but all right. So say we build them and they last 20 years. Okay, we're just kicking the can down further. What's going to happen in 20 years when we have all these panels that need to be replaced?
And the batteries too.
Yeah.
So the batteries as well. So the longest lasting batteries that you can get right now is the iron phosphate kind. So lithium or sodium iron phosphate. Those give you 4,000 to 6,000 cycle life. It's actually insane. So you can get like 10 years of draining and filling it 100% of its capacity for 10 years, and you lose like probably like 30% of its capacity. So
but eventually,
that is incredible.
But eventually, they're going to need to be replaced.
Yeah, so you go from the 10 to the 20 years, and now you're probably lost about 50 to 60% of the capacity by then. You do need to do something at that point.
So then we're burying a whole bunch of wind turbine blades, a whole bunch of solar panels, and a whole bunch of batteries into the landfill. How is this better than what we're currently doing?
Well, yeah, so if you look at fossil fuels, though, we don't have anywhere near the level of recycling problems, because at the end of the day, the fuel is just, you just pull it out of the ground, you burn it in a boiler or something, and Bob's your uncle, you know? And as far as like a gas-powered or coal-powered station, I mean, it's just a big building with machines in it. It's steel and whatnot, wires. It's so easy to recycle and do that. Not to
mention the fact that basically what comes out of a stack of a coal power plant is nothing more than steam.
Depends.
It is. I've actually done.
It depends on the station. It depends what technology level you're at.
No, all stations have been retrofitted.
That's exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, it depends on the technology level of the station.
All the stations in Australia have been retrofitted, because I actually spoke to the guy, and I was going to do, you know how Lauren Southern does her documentaries? I was actually going to do a documentary on the coal power stations and the actual truth of the situation. I've spoken to a guy that is responsible for maintaining maintaining literally all of the coal mines in Queensland and New South Wales. I've spoken to the guy who actually does the retrofit on all of the power stations and how far he's progressed. I can tell you now that the emission that comes out of those coal power stations, it is nothing more than a hot shower. That's all it is. I could get into it, and we could probably get into it in another day. I'm already bored talking about this shit, but at the end of the day, it's nothing more than steam. The
thing is in India and China, a lot of their coal stations don't have like half that amount of tech.
No, but India
actually have soot and crap and like awful air quality.
But India and China aren't going to do any of this shit.
No, of course not. I know. But
this
that's what I mean, though.
This is bullshit that the West has to adopt to try and make themselves feel better, so they can sleep tighter at night and sleep better in their nice warm beds, and make the fact that they feel like they're doing something for the environment. China's not going to adopt any of this shit. China's going to be like, oh, okay, if the West wants to destroy itself, okay, we'll save us doing it. This is what this is. This is deconstructionism. And at the end of the day, once this has all been brought through, our power prices in Australia have already gone up how much over the past
60%.
5 years? Yeah.
So, just 5 years? Oh, I think it's more than doubled.
Yeah. I got a power bill the other day where a notice from my energy provider turning around saying, hey, guess what? Power bills are going up yet again. And it just seems
we just had a 30% increase, like just 30 days ago.
Yeah.
And we're all getting letters saying that the next one is going up again.
Yeah. So not only do we have, so as we go more and more towards green energy, our power prices are going up and up and up. We're getting to the point where people can't even pay their power bills. Thank God I've got fucking solar on my roof. It helps reduce it a lot. But my bills used to be in credit. I used to get about $150, $200 in credit. Now my bills are used about $150 to $200 in debt. So I have to pay normally about $150, $200. Now, obviously, those panels are starting to reduce in effectivity. They've been up probably over 10 years now. They're starting to reduce their effectiveness, blah, blah, blah. But
your ones actually go for more than 10 years. Good.
But at the end of the day, the fact is that that my bills were in credit, but it's things like the line rental and all this sort of shit. You know,
what you should do is start moving towards getting the whole system absolutely completely removed, putting up a whole new set of panels.
Yeah.
Get a nice big bank of lithium iron phosphate batteries, and just start like charging and running off inverters. That's what I would tell you to do. And if you want help, I can tell you exactly how to DIY it too, so you can save thousands of dollars on labor. But
at the end of the day, that's what I say is like, you know, like if you want people to go through and put solar on their roof to help reduce their power bills, like, you know, yes, great, terrific. But at the end of the day, like, we already have massive power problems already. And these idiots want to go through and reduce more power, reduce more of the grid. You know,
they're closing a Raring.
Don't get me started.
Did you know that?
Yeah, that's the power station down there, isn't it?
The biggest one in New South Wales, I believe. I think.
Yeah.
They're closing a Raring. That's one of the big ones.
Right.
We're going to lose a Raring. That's going to put pressure on all these other ones, the little ones.
So,
dude, this is not good.
So if you want to hear something funny, I spoke to a guy who, like I said, maintains the power stations for Queensland, New South Wales. They said they were shutting them down. And he said in the past month they've been going through and restarting them back up again.
Whoa, really?
Yeah. He told me that.
So, because you can't, like, you can't close a Raring. Like, last time I checked, a Raring supplies, oh god, I think it was, a couple hundred megawatts. I think it's like 150, 200 meg. I can't remember exactly, like, the usual output it's doing, but it's a lot. And how do you turn that off? You can't just put 200 or 300 megawatts on other stations that barely can keep up.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh man. Anyway,
this is why people are losing interest in this, right? So let's just stick to the 2030 to 2049 because the way these idiots are going, we're not going to be here after 2050. So appliances, obviously, gas cooking has been phased out. Well, that's already happening in Melbourne already. Electrification of appliances and reduction to size to cut power requirements. Food, national consumption of beef and lamb drops by 50%. This is where we're going to get into fake meat, is it? Beef and lamb phased out along with all imports. It's non-transported by train. Fertilizer uses greatly reduced. Mining materials, reduction demand of iron ore and limestone as a blast furnace iron and cement reduces. Increased demand for materials for electrification. By the way, do they know that iron is used in train tracks? Iron and limestone phased out, while metal supply scraps chains expand greatly and develops with high precision sorting. Then material production.
Mention something?
Yeah. Yep.
They mention limestone. The reason that they're mentioning limestone is because they talk about the big issue with cement in this PDF. Cement and concrete, basically they use limestone, and so they use limestone. They mix it with like sand and all this other stuff, and basically they cook it, and it cooks out some of the carbon, and that's what sort of makes cement and whatnot. And they're saying that unfortunately, because of the way that it works, the cooking itself produces carbon. So the physical creation of the cement or concrete, it doesn't matter how you heat it or how you do it, the carbon is coming out of the actual product. And so that's why cement is a huge issue, right? Yeah.
So construction reduced cement supply compensated by improvement material efficiency, new steel replaced by recycled steel, and then by 2050 they want all conventional mortar and concrete phased out, all steel recycled, focused on retrofits and adoption of existing buildings. So here's the one thing that these morons don't know. Do you know how much coal is in steel? If I was to ask you, if I had a ton of steel, how much coal do you think is in that?
Yeah, so you can use coal. There are other options. Coke is another good option that they use. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
It's about 800. So for 1 ton, it's about 800 kilos of coal.
Yeah. Steel is an amalgamation of carbon. So you increase the level of carbon in the iron to create steel. It's sort of how it works.
Yeah.
You can use coke, which is a processed. You process coal and make it more efficient, and so there's less emissions. And you can do cleaner ways of making steel. You absolutely can. There are some other things I've heard of about 5 years ago. They were talking about you can sequester carbon in many different ways to put it into as a gas form, and so it's like a gaseous version of making steel. It's pretty cool. They've got ideas. There are things you can do.
So
But yeah, the quickest, cheapest way of doing it is with coal.
So material efficiency becomes prominent as material supplies contract. Most good made from 50% such as material, many now used for twice as long. Electricity, obviously we've already talked about, and fossil fuels, rapid reduction in supply and use of fossil fuels, except for oil for plastic production. Have they not heard about the Great Atlantic Plastic Drift? Fossil fuels completely phased out. And by that stage we're all dead. This is just this is idiotic. This really is and I can see governments accepting and doing this. I'm pretty sure.
Are.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Victorian government is already doing it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day,
Big universities are behind this. Big names, big people are behind this. Clearly.
yeah, but a lot of big names are also behind the flat Earth theory too. It doesn't mean that they're not crackpots.
Okay, but we don't actually have governments and major universities and big thinkers, lobby groups, and NGOs pushing flat Earth theory. So that's not an argument.
Well, we do have some of the people in university that push with the flat Earth.
So manufacturing, I think the manufacturing one is crazy as well. But
Like at the end of the day, these guys are just look. This is just pie in the sky shit that to make themselves feel better. But they're going to crash the West, and like I said, China and that is not going to adopt any of this.
Yeah. Now, what do you think is going to because they're going to crash the West? We know that's coming. I think one of the interesting things to look at here, you've got two things happening which I don't see how they're compatible. If we're going to have a crashing energy sector, but we're also going into only electrical methods of transaction and like no cash and all digital currency, that's going to look interesting, isn't it?
Well, yeah, the biggest thing that you have to ask is if you want to go for a cashless society, right, you're going to have to use some form of cryptocurrency. Isn't that bad?
CBDC, yeah.
Yeah, isn't that bad for the environment? How much heat
No.
how much heat is generated by miners?
No. So there's two types of cryptocurrency. So you have proof of work is the one that you're thinking, where you run GPUs and use gigawatts around the world.
Yeah.
The other one is proof of stake. I'm sure you've heard of this word. So Ethereum has already moved on to proof of stake.
Right.
The way the proof of stake works is simply that you have the biggest people who invest into the cryptocurrency. They have these massive stakes in it, and instead of doing the crypto, the proof of it being working it through an algorithm, it's backed by the threat of losing your stake. this is a very simplified explanation, okay? But it's more complicated than that. But like, just to say that someone with $50 billion at stake is basically running the machine that then goes, this was a legit transaction because we checked everything and it's all good. And so they can lose that money though if it turns out to be false. So yeah, the CBDCs run on proof of stake.
Right.
So there's like virtually no electricity consumption other than for the transactions themselves.
Damn it! Oh, it was going to be my argument for why we shouldn't go to CDC. All right, look, at the end of the day.
I just blew your bubble there.
Yeah, that's all right. That's why you're here. But at the end of the day, obviously, like, this is this crackpot conspiracy, stupid shit. To bring any of this in, it's going to crash the West. And like I said, there's no way China or any of those developing countries are going to adopt any of this. India, China, they're not going to adopt any of this shit. And they're the ones that are polluting the world.
Yeah.
So
the thing,
what's going to be the argument when we get to 2050? Say that we go through and we do this, right? We bring all this stuff in, and then 2050 we still have massive climate change because China still is polluting and India and all those sort of places are still polluting. What are they going to be like? They're going to be like, well, then we can't run trains now. We have to stop running the trains. Everybody just has to grow your own bugs in the backyard and eat those. Is that what the argument's going to be? Like, what's the argument for when we get to 2050? We still have massive climate change. Let's just say it's all real and everything like that, right? What's going to be the argument when we get to 2050? We still have massive climate problems because China and India and all these sort of places aren't going to listen to any of this shit. What, we have to clamp down harder? You have to stop doing everything? We just have to fail to exist now. We just have to go through and just self-delete everybody because, okay, so we do that. Okay, West basically self-deletes itself. Guess what? China's still going to be here. They're still going to be pumping stuff into the atmosphere. There's still going to be climate change. No matter what we do, we're not going to solve this problem because the people that are the biggest problems for this is China and India. And no matter what how much tree hugging, fucking tree humping you do, China's not going to listen to you.
I'll tell you what's really crazy. The method in which they get Australia, Europe, America, so on, to look like the worst emitters in the world is that they don't actually go by the emissions by country; they go by per capita.
Yeah.
And interestingly, Australians rank like. Well, I think at one point we were ranking like 2 in the world for highest, as in per person per capita emissions were actually like, I think we were coming like second. We were like really bad. The problem with that is that sure that's an argument that you can say that, oh, we're like the worst polluters as per like people, right? But if we go and make a change to bring ourselves to be way more clean, it actually still makes no difference to the planet itself because you can use the per capita argument, but reducing it makes zero difference because what actually matters is the amount of carbon that's emitted.
Yes,
300 per capita. The planet doesn't care about per capita.
No, 300 tons, for example, of carbon put into the atmosphere every year. Guess what? It's still 300 fucking tons.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
Like,
the
China
planet
can look super clean per capita, but it's still emitting like fucking crazy.
So the planet's not going to sit there and think, well, China has 7.7 million people, so therefore per capita they're doing good. Pat on the head. It's going to be like, no, you're still fucking killing me.
Yeah, and the other thing that they do to Australia, this is very specifically an attack on Australia that has been absolutely gutting our mining industry, and our government has just done so much damage to Australia's economy with this. For the past several years, my understanding is this goes back to like 2012. They started pushing this crap. That when we signed on, like this goes back to when we signed on to like Paris Agreement and shit, right? that they come after Australia based on a responsibility thing, because it's not good enough that if we reduce our emissions per capita, right? We also have to become responsible for our exports and what we do, our actions, and how we affect the world based on the things that we do, even after it leaves our borders, right? So the coal that we ship out to China was they were starting to look at the things, and instead of applying those carbon outputs to China, they would apply it to Australia because it was our coal, so we're responsible for that carbon. So that brings us as a emissions by country. I think it's a dumb argument. I think it's a they apply it to us, and so our ranking goes way up, right? Yeah. And the other thing is that just recently, like in this year, as 2022 and this year, Adani wants to put like a huge mine in Australia, and that's actually going to screw us over even more if it goes forward, which I believe it is. That carbon that India is going to be pushing out is going to get applied to us.
I can tell you now, I might or might not have spoken to someone that is head of New South Wales and Queensland's mining operations, and he might or might not have told me that we are not slowing down on mining, that in fact we are actually building more mines across Australia than ever before.
But we don't get to use that carbon for our own fucking power generation, which pisses me off.
Yeah, we send it to China, and then China sends it back to us.
Not that, and not only that, but like we mine that coal.
Yeah.
These fucking activists apply those emissions to us anyway, and we don't get to use that power though.
Yeah, because they want us to look bad and China to look good. It's all smoke and mirrors, dude. Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, obviously, this is all sort of like you're sitting there thinking, well, what's this got to do with, like, like how does this work in with 15-minute cities? City planners say that they have to rethink the way that urban areas to make them more sustainable, healthy, and they've called 15-minute cities. As recently as 2 decades ago, more people live on the countryside than in urban areas, but that's changed since around 56% of the global population are now home in cities. Basically, what they want to do is they want to go through and bring in Hunger Games. They want to divide the cities up into 15, 20-minute sectors. And everything that you need, your shopping, your cinemas, everything that you need will be within 15, 20 minutes walk or bike ride of where you live. Now, eventually what they want to do is they'll bring in sectors, and you won't be able to travel between those sectors except for like rare occurrences. Now, we're already starting to see this in China, where China has just brought in gates and boom and turnstiles, stopping people from traveling between sectors. Let me see if I can find the video. China. Would it be under social credit? Yeah.
Does it remind you of something that happened about a year and a bit ago? Not leaving your area because of some sort of
Ring of Steel
emergency.
Yep, stuff like that. Yeah, Ring of Steel and stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
Wow, over in China now, even to basically go through and get gas for your car, you need to like get your face scanned.
Oh wow, yeah. I've been keeping up a little bit with the way that China is tracking everything with the WeChat and all that stuff, and how the social credit score and how everything is controlled, right? And honestly, it has like escalated. Like, holy crap, has it escalated in like the last 5 years in China? Wow. So I take it you've moved on from the PDF. You didn't like it.
It's not that I don't like it. It's just it's boring. It really is boring. Like I know you've done a lot of research and stuff on it and stuff, but like I'm almost falling asleep here. It's like, and I imagine a lot of people are just going to sort of like, it's just going to go, not over their heads, but they're just going to roll their eyes and just go like, okay, this is like...
The problem I have is, look, we're moving on, it's fine. I'll just say this though, like for you and the audience, that just because it's boring doesn't mean that it's the issue doesn't care about you. So you might not care about it, but
totally agree.
They have enough power to put this on you. We see evidence of these things being actually done and implemented around us, and it is going to F up your life.
Yes.
If you don't put a stop to it.
Yes.
So.
And that's why I say...
to know, right?
And that's why we're still going to be talking about 15-minute cities, 20-minute cities. We're still going to be talking about all that sort of stuff. So we've still got a lot to cover with that yet. At the end of the day, that's why I sort of covered the first 2 sectors of that graph, was because that's the stuff that people need to look out for. And hopefully we can stop that stuff from coming through, which would then stop the other stuff from coming through. So look, yeah, we could sit here and talk about 2 hours and fully break it down. But to be honest, most people are just going to turn the podcast off if they start talking about that sort of shit.
I wonder if you run into a chicken and egg problem though, because if you put a stop to the 15-minute cities and all that other stuff, but you don't put a stop to the things that will cause the necessity for the 15-minute city to exist, aren't you basically making shit worse? Because if you then don't have the infrastructure of 15-minute cities, but they still implement all of the other things behind it, aren't you then absolutely royally screwed?
Well, at the end of the day, we don't want any of it coming through.
Yeah, but if you don't know about it because it was boring...
Well, that's why we covered the first 2 sectors of it all. That's why we broke down the first...
Well, yeah. So I guess we've covered enough of it for people to understand that if you want to go to your council meetings and all this stuff and try to put a stop to this kind of crap, which we've seen some of that in New South Wales already, where residents go in and just like, what's this 15-minute city crap? We don't want this. Like, they're actually doing it. Like, there are places where this is happening.
Yeah.
And just to keep in mind that it won't end there. You also have to at least be aware that this stuff is backed by something else, which is the reduction of cars, energy, all this other stuff, and that you need to be vigilant about that too.
But that's what I say. That's why we sort of covered the first 2 sectors of it, is because like we can sit here and talk about like what's happening in 2050, but hopefully we've stopped what happens in 2030, let alone 2050.
That would be ideal.
Yeah. And that's what I say is that we can sit there and how do I say this nicely? I don't want to burden people with a whole bunch of information of what might happen in, say, 30 years if we can stop what's going to happen in 10 years.
Fair enough. I can't argue with that too much.
Yeah. That's why when I talk to people, my man in the street stuff, I generally sit there and I generally talk about what's happening in the next 10 years. Just because the fact that if I start talking about 30 years from now, they're going to be like, well, that's 30 years from now. We can stop it by then. But if it's 10 years, it's a lot more intimate. It's a lot more of a threat. So here over in China is an example of you having a certain social credit score, and it won't let you into that sector if your social credit score is too low. So we just quickly watch this video. It's only about 15 seconds. So basically a guy goes up to the turnstile to get let in, and it shows you his social credit score. I'll mute so you don't have to listen to the stupid alarm anymore. And then basically the alarms start going off because he doesn't have enough social credit to get into that next sector. So we've already got stuff like this. This is not what I was hoping for, but this is an example. Over in China, they also went through and they were reducing flow by putting in turnstiles where you had to scan your ID to get into sectors and stuff. Like this is already the stuff that's coming in. It's in China already. So this sort of stuff is on its way here. But at the end of the day, it's sort of like yeah, it's pretty authoritarian. And then obviously you've got stuff like this. You then also got the pandemic pack, which is it's all fun and games, people. It's totally not a reason to like build a bomb shelter. Pandamic pandemic pack. So the pandemic pack is basically the WHO wants to go through and take sovereignty of countries next time there's a major pandemic. Totally not authoritarian at all.
Yeah. Basically, yeah. So one of the issues that they cite is the, too many states in the United States and too many countries basically just like were not really following the rules or following them too loosely. So, I mean, you could. I don't know exactly what the go was with Sweden, but Sweden basically just like didn't do anything. No lockdowns, nothing.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine just how like. I don't know how that happened, but it must have just been like they must have just put their middle finger up at the WHO. And to like in America, it was like basically half of America was lockdowns, the other half wasn't. And
Well,
yeah.
towards the end of the pandemic, it was. At the start of the pandemic, they all were locked down.
Yeah, true. Although the reality was that you didn't actually have to follow the rules because at the end of the day, they also have a constitution, so.
Yeah. The reason
here in Australia, it was also a little bit funny because we had like Victoria was way more lockdowns than New South Wales, for instance, right? And
but
so
this is where the WHO and this pandemic pact comes into it, right? So the
Yeah.
World Health Organization is convening a special session of its governing body, the World Health Assembly. By the way, this is NPR that's saying this too. Talks on the new global treaty governing pandemics. Representatives of WHO's 194 member state will meet virtually for 3 days starting on Monday to consider new international rules for handling future outbreaks. The head of the World Economic Organization, Taurus, blah blah blah. Let's get into the rules. The new pandemic treaty could be a hard sell. The new set of international pandemic rules might mean that the next outbreak is more contained more quickly. Nevertheless, the political leaders to commit to being a good global citizen in the midst of a deadly crisis rather than looking out for their own nation's interests is a hard sell. So, co-founder or co-director of the Global Health Center says that COVID has demonstrated the world desperately needs a new international framework to deal with 21st century pandemics. It was actually Africa that actually stopped this from coming through the first time.
based.
Yeah, Africa's pretty based when it comes to this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
Africa's kind of tired of the Western shit. Like, one of the biggest issues that's going on in Africa is that this actually it's this stuff specifically that is screwing them over so much. Africa can't get loans to build mines, proper mines, I mean, to build infrastructure to begin to industrialize like the rest of the world got to. Because of ESG and all that other crap. We're like unironically, Africa could, I guess, become Wakanda one day, but they'll never get there if the West never allows them to industrialize. Because macabre, you know?
Yeah. So I'm trying to find. So a lot of the mainstream media is running interference, claiming it's a conspiracy theory, blah blah blah. It's not going to rob Australia of its sovereignty, right? But the fact that they've actually said that kind of should be alarm bells to everybody because it's safe and effective. But yeah, it's actually, the best people to speak to about this would be, let's see, so Redacted have done a very good video on this. WHO pandemic pack. So Sky News is talking about it. Holy shit, base Sky News. Skynews.com.au. Let's listen to what they have to say while I look up the
Story that has got a lot of traction in the UK, but not nearly enough traction here in Australia, is to do with the World Health Organization. Now, you will have seen various scare stories about, oh, there's a new pandemic coming, the next one's going to be worse, this sort of stuff. You will have read about that. What you won't have read much about is how the World Health Organization, I've warned you about this many, many times before on this show, are desperate to have some kind of global pandemic treaty whereby it would be the World Health Organization who says to separate countries, now there's dispute about what powers they would have, and Scott Morrison said, oh, no, don't worry, it would never get this bad. But at its worst, the reality is, or the fear is, that the World Health Organization will have the powers to be able to say such and such a state or such and such a nation or country or whatever is in a pandemic situation and must be locked down, even if that entity says, no, we're not, or disputes it. That's the fear of how bad it could be. There's dispute about whether that's what the agenda will be. But in the UK, MPs within the government are now getting very twitchy about what they see as the World Health Organization taking powers on a global scale to impose pandemics at will. This is a really serious story, and it will only stop if Australian voters speak up very loudly and very clearly on chat shows and radio shows and so on, saying we do not want a World Health Organization global pandemic treaty.
And
Now, the reason why they're saying that it won't necessarily happen is because the language that was used in the pandemic treaty was that it was non-obligationary lockdowns and stuff like that. But what they didn't tell people is that they've also gone through and removed the non-obligation from the pandemic pack by making a separate rule. So they turned around and they said, you know, in constitution or in ruling with the WHO, we have no powers to lock you down. It's non-obligationary because of this rule. But what they didn't tell people is that they've also gone through and modified that rule to remove the non-obligationary part. So they're saying we will enact lockdowns similar by using this rule. Don't worry, it's got non-obligationary in it. But then when you check out the rule, you've realised that they've struck out or they've removed a lot of the non-obligationary comments from the rule, which makes it obligationary. It's sort of like it's sort of a backdoor way of making it obligationary while still claiming that it's not obligationary.
James.
Rowan, you know, I think the thing here, you know, you were right to couch this in an awful lot of sort of cautious language because, of course, there can be extremism. But there's also, you know, a saying that goes around that says, you know, today's conspiracy theories are tomorrow's coming attractions. One of the things that really needs to be noted about the pandemic, too, is that so many of the jurisdictions that did best are the ones that did not follow the official narrative, the official advice. I'm thinking of Florida. I'm thinking of Sweden. So the idea that you would have this sort of, I don't know, called a, well, you don't want to say world government because that would be all conspiracy theory, but this world body telling governments how to manage their pandemics, when in fact that world body fell and tumbled for the Wuhan model of containment and eradication, causing untold misery around the globe. I think people should be very, very wary about.
Absolutely.
Right. So obviously we don't spend too much time talking about this as well, but yeah, it's basically it's a major concern. So obviously we've covered the 15-minute cities, the 20-minute cities. We've covered the pandemic pack. How does this all break into digital currency? And this is where obviously, for example, you would actually have a little bit more information. Let's talk about programmable digital currencies.
Yes. Now, let's just get this straight up out of the way. A lot of people will point at the fact that if you go to the CBDC information websites around the world, whether it's a government site or the Federal Reserve's website, or whatever website type in your country that will talk about it, right?
Yeah.
They almost always say in there that there are either they use weasel words like there are currently no plans for programmable from the top down, or they say something like, that this is not programmable from the government side of things. The programmability features are for the user to do things for themselves, such as barring themselves from further gambling or programming an allowance for your kids, etc., like this. So they're admitting the programmability is there. They say on the site, like here in Australia, actually, ours says this, that there are currently no plans to ever do this as a control onto you from the bank or the government. However, if you were to actually look at these types of people, politicians and other leaders from World Bank, IMF, etc., when they talk about this stuff at Davos, for instance, they literally talk about it as in we can and will be using this as a programming measure top down to do things to you, to control you. So like the two statements do not mesh. Which one is telling the truth, right? Well, I know which side is. It's the Davos side. Because they're the ones who actually have the power. Our politicians do not.
Yes. Especially when they go signing things like the pandemic pack, because they're literally willing to give over control of our country during a pandemic to the WHO and Davos Group and the WEF. So, like,
our politicians are selling us out massively.
Yes. Do you think, like, Joe Biden is making policy agreements or plans? Like, this is the guy that literally turned around and said, "What am I signing today?" Like, he has no idea what he's signing because he's not the one writing these signs. He's not the one writing these policies. So programmable money, just for the 50-foot overview, is basically the ability to go through and to program money to be used in certain situations, right? So technically with programmable money, you can go through and you can plan, or you can say, for example, you can only allocate so much of your money to buy, for example, fresh food, or real meat, or fruit and veg, or to go towards buying petrol or whatever it may be, right? You can literally specify what the money gets spent on and how much of the money gets spent on that. Also, the thing is once you remove physical currency and you've gone to this digital currency, there's no such thing as cash. It's a cashless society, which means if you ever go to and we become somewhere like China, well, you can't just go down to the supermarket and buy money or buy fruit and veg with your cash, because there's no such thing. You now have to go through and use the cashless society, the digital currency. And if you're blacklisted, by the way, good luck doing that, because everything is now going to be tracked and traced. If you get into trouble because you're protesting and the government doesn't want you protesting because it doesn't support your current thing, they can just simply go through and remove your bank account. We've seen this actually happen in Canada with the truckers who were protesting, and they went through and put pressure onto GoFundMe to actually shut down the GoFundMe and to stop the truckers from being able to withdraw the money. Because the one way that the government hates or tries to control protest is by simply shutting down currencies.
Yeah,
So-
debanking and freezing accounts and all that stuff is partially effective.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, a lot of the truckers were able to, well, not a lot, but some, and it gets more and more popular as time goes on. The use of like the other cryptos, the ones that we
Yeah.
like Bitcoin and all them. There are so many ways around the system, and the other thing that is becoming a problem for the elites is parallel economies.
Yes. Stripe
So,
and stuff like that.
Yeah. There are parallel economies happening. I mean, like, how the hell BitChute is actually still funded and running right now is a mystery to me, and I'm sure that's on purpose. Whoever's currently keeping it online is doing it very secretly and through some kind of witchcraft,
Well,
because
we
they
don't even know.
froze.
We don't even know who started Bitcoin, do we?
No, I'm talking about BitChute. Like, if you want to
Oh,
talk
yeah,
about
yeah,
parallel
yeah.
economy, like,
Yeah.
so the guy who started BitChute and the accounts that ran BitChute and the accounts that you'd send donations to have all been frozen and the assets all taken. All that money is frozen and taken, right? So how BitChute for months now?
Hang on.
It's
So
magic.
hang on. So for the people at home, they have no idea what BitChute is.
How do they not know what BitChute is?
No, dude, this is what we call the Great Divide. You and I know so much about this sort of stuff that the average day folk have no idea about BitChute. BitChute is a YouTube clone that uses a massive amount of computers transferring data, so there's no central servers. Think of it like, instead of having, like, so at the moment with YouTube, you connect to the YouTube server, which then sends you the data. With BitChute, say there are 100 people online at the moment, they all have a copy of the file. When you connect to the BitChute, or when you connect to BitChute, it finds the locals in your area or around the world that have that particular file and then sends it to you. So it's like a massive decentralized system. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the like the lion's share of the data flow is coming from centralized servers that they're running themselves and paying for.
Yeah. But it's more
Yeah.
decentralized. It's more decentralized than like YouTube and stuff.
Yeah, they do have servers around the world that they're paying for. It's really interesting, but the funding is coming from somewhere else now, and I don't know how they're doing it, and it's interesting what's happened. BitChute is still online, and that's a miracle, and I don't know how they've done it, and I don't think we'll find out for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, they froze it, and the guys, like, they took everything. So yeah, I mean that's the kind of problem we have to deal with, you know. Debanking is yeah. Now with CBDC, it centralizes everything, and then there's no parallel economy. You can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually so I obviously have websites. I noticed the other day that my website actually uses Strike as a parallel economy.
Right?
Stripe, yeah. I think it was Stripe.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, you guys are pretty based. But what I was going to say was, at the end of the day, it's I'm just double checking now. Which I think it was Strike. But what I was going to say, Strike. But what I was
Strike. Okay.
Yeah. Let me double check actually.
Sure.
Yeah. But what I was going to say was it's when it comes to like centralized currency, it's all bad news. It's you don't have to worry about carrying around money, but that's the bad side of things. It's like people are literally giving up convenience of not having to carry money for the sake, or they're giving up the security of being able to have money for the for the ability to not carry it.
Well, let me tell you something really interesting.
I stuffed that up completely, but yeah, keep going. Yep.
When you have the system we have right now already can do what CBDC does with the whole you don't have to carry money around, etc., etc., but still includes all of the classical things there, like cash, right? And checks, cash, freedom of currency, to buy and sell whatever the hell you want, to use cryptos, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So CBDC adds nothing for us, the consumer. It really doesn't. It adds no new features. and all it does is just deliver Orwellian features for those above us who think they're better than us. That's
Yeah.
all it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we wrap up today, I'll have a chat to you for about 10-20 minutes. The amount of stuff that you know and I know compared to what other people know is vastly different. Like, dude, people don't even know about Rumble.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if they're here watching us right now, like the people watching us right now, how could they possibly not know about Rumble or BitChute? Like,
Because I might or might not be giving this link to the podcast to people that I'm doing my interview of the street stuff with.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've got to. I don't want to say dumb it down because that's sort of like disingenuous, but we
Yeah, I
sort
must
of
sound like a real asshole right now.
But yeah,
Sorry about that.
no, that's all right. But yeah, but there's
I don't mean to call you stupid.
but it's not that, guys. It's just that we have like been living and breathing this stuff for like years.
Yeah, I live in a bubble. I'm
Yeah.
permanently online, guys.
Yeah, and like we've been covering this stuff for like 6 years, and the stuff that we know is just. Well, I've said to people, the stuff that I know, it would probably make half the people curl up into a fetal position, and scream, "This is not real," and the other half would probably want to revolt. The stuff that we know is, yeah. There's a reason why we are probably one of the most censored people on the internet, except for maybe Alex Jones is probably more censored than us. At least we still have a YouTube channel, somewhat. But anyway,
Amazing.
yeah, I think the only people probably more censored than us was Luke Wiedowski from We Are Change, Alex Jones, and then probably us.
Yeah, and there's a couple of anti-war news channels out there like Redacted. They oh the boy are they censored as well.
Yeah, I just tried to look up Redacted earlier for that WHO thing, and I couldn't find it. I could not find the clip. Their channel doesn't even come up as a search engine.
They're big on Rumble.
Yeah.
Redacted. Yeah.
All right. Before we jump into the next section, I do need to go to the toilet very quickly. So, guys, we're going to take a quick break, and
Okay, sure.
yeah, we'll be right back.
All right.
All right, guys, we are coming back now. Sorry, I just not been feeling the best the past couple of days, and yeah. All right. So before we jump into the last story, yeah. All right, so guys, we are back. Obviously, I can pause the recording, but I can't pause the live stream. Before we jump into the next story, is there anything else we want to wrap up when it comes to CBC's programmable money, 15-minute cities?
I think we're good.
Cool. All right, so the big story for the day is that Devon Archer is actually the finance guy that used to work with the Bidens. He has recently been testifying under oath, by the way, about the Biden's financial dealings and just how deep they actually are when it comes to things like Russia and Ukraine and stuff like that. So for the people at home that don't know, obviously at the end of the day, places like Ukraine, Russia and all that are heavily invested with the Biden family. It's funny because they claim that Trump is. But yeah, it's actually the Bidens that are actually in deep with the Bidens, with Russia and China and Ukraine. So he's a ex-friend of Hunter Biden. So they're claiming he denies president talked business with son's associates. Okay, but he literally testified. Oh wow, Forbes is literally lying to people.
Wow. Wow.
Because he actually.
What a surprise! Forbes lying to people.
Yeah. We actually have what he actually did say.
That's good.
Right, so obviously at the end of the day we're going to use Fox for the source on this because it's not like CBS or NBC or CNN or Forbes even is going to report on this. So let's see what they have to say.
Linking the father to the son, even as an outside participant in these phone calls, just to say hi. Explain that and why that is significant.
Well, what we now know, quite frankly, is that the president has been lying. I mean, he lied during the presidential campaign. He lied as president when he had to have his staff repeat that he had no knowledge, no interaction with these business dealings. That's clearly false. I mean, these are accounts of almost 24 calls made with these associates, some of whom are the most corrupt figures in Europe, where the vice president would call in. That's the point of influence peddling. When Archer says that he was there to sell the brand is influence peddling, and Joe Biden is the object of that influence peddling. And so you need to show that you will have access, that he's just a phone call away. And what's amazing is that you have people like Representative Goldman saying, when he's put on the speakerphone, he didn't actually, deal with business.
Yeah.
Well, no one expects that in the middle of Cafe Milano that you're going to order that the prosecutor in Ukraine gets an ice pick and then order breadsticks. I mean, the point is that we have him on speed dial. And what we also know is that we've had millions and millions of dollars transferred through this labyrinth of accounts that seem really designed to hide these transfers to the Biden family. That's the sort of apex of corruption. I mean, I've been a critic of influence peddling for decades. I've never seen anything like the Biden family.
Now, they're going to come back and counter, so to be fair to all parties involved, that there's nothing unusual here, that if the son is trying to say, that's my dad, the vice president or the former vice president, we don't know the timing of some of these calls when he was still a vice president or when he was a former vice president, but be that as it may, that, he's not only his son, but he's with his father all the time. And this proves that. He's at this dinner event or at this other function, and there's Dad who pops up on the phone. Now, the White House might argue, do you know how often this happens with Joe Biden? He's in a lot of phone calls, and there are a lot of people who say hi, Joe, or whatever. So they're going to play it differently. But you're saying you can't play this differently, right?
No, you can't. I mean, Representative Goldman made this sound like he was calling his son's travel soccer team. I mean, these were almost 24 calls with these corrupt business figures from Ukraine, Russia, and China. And the president called to show that he was part of the brand. Now, look, you can deny most anything, but the American people are not being fooled. The polls, really indicate that. They see this for what it is. I mean, it is corruption. The question is, what did they get for their money? Not just what they thought they were getting, but what they might have gotten for their money. We have to find those answers. And what's astonishing to me is for Goldman to come out and say, can we go away now? I mean, can we just call it a day? You just had the close friend of the president's son saying that he was part of selling an influence peddling brand. I don't think this is the time that most people are going to feel it is to take a powder.
Now, that begs the question. We know the son was trying to leverage that relationship with the father. I think that's pretty clear, though I'm not a lawyer. The leap here is to say that the father was getting something out of it in participating if he knew he was participating. Do you think Joe Biden knew he was participating, leaving aside the far more explosive insinuation that he might have been profiting, which we can't prove yet?
I think that it's the assumption is that he knew exactly what these meetings were about. It's just strange credulity that he flies to China with his son and doesn't ask once, by the way, where are you going to go in China? What are you doing business here? That he makes all these calls to dinners with foreign characters, and he doesn't say, who were those guys? Why were you meeting? It's just not very believable. But I think that we also have other evidence that they shared accounts. There are some emails referring to a 10% cut going to the president, who was called the big guy. There were accounts of offices that would be paid for the president and the first lady. Hunter Biden himself complains about taking money to pay his father's bills. There was an exchange where Hunter Biden said, we're the best at this effectively, and they are. And you can see that in how this influence peddling scheme was developed. No money has to go directly to the president. There's lots of ways to benefit the Biden family. But the one thing that we can't do is just walk away. We have to find out the full story here. I think this is shaping up to be one of the greatest corruption scandals in the history of Washington, and that is saying a lot.
So at the end of the day, what the 50-foot overview for everybody playing at home is, Hunter Biden was on these deals, making these millions of dollar deals. And while he was making these $1 million deals for no apparent reason, like putting on the board of a Burisma and all that sort of stuff, he just happens to whip out his phone and call Dad, the vice president, or the former vice president, or the president. I think it's former vice president. And just say, hi, Dad. Just give me a call. How are you, Dad? You good? Yeah, I'm good, son. Yeah. Now, because if my dad was the vice president of the United States of America, or former vice president of America, and I was in a brand deal for $20 million or $10 million or $5 million, having my dad call me, or me calling my dad during the middle of a business deal for millions of dollars to say, hi, how's golf, is totally professional, right? There was no other reason why Hunter Biden would whip out his dad's phone, and call his dad during a multi-million-dollar business deal with some of these other foreign investors. There's no reason I can think of.
I can't think of any.
No. Yeah. It's like Hillary Clinton and her Clinton Foundation that got millions of dollars while she was like Secretary of State. And then soon as she lost the 2020 election or 2016 election, all of a sudden all these countries stopped giving to Hillary Clinton. They stopped giving to the Clinton Foundation. Australia itself stopped giving money to Hillary Clinton. Soon as she lost power and was no longer in a position of power, she's all this money dried up. It was weird because like the Clinton Foundation was totally helping everybody else around the world, right? If I was to give all this money to the Clinton Foundation, there's no way I would sit there and think I might be giving money to Hillary Clinton for under the book sort of stuff. I'm just simply giving to her Clinton Foundation, right? What happens to that foundation? That's between them. That's not me. I'm just donating to help kids, for example. But but when she loses power, I'm like, well, hey, I don't really want to give to the foundation anymore because, there's still going to be helping kids, I presume, but for some reason, I just don't want to give that money anymore, right? It's very weird. It's very weird to sit there and all of a sudden have no interest in donating to these foundations when these people start losing power. And it's the same thing with Hunter Biden, right? There's absolutely no reason why Hunter Biden would whip out a phone and call the big dog, Dad, and simply, say hi during a multi-million-dollar business deal with, for example, people of China or people of Russia or people of Ukraine. Now, obviously, remember how Joe Biden bragged about using the $1 billion taxpayer dollar to leverage the prosecutor in Ukraine?
I was, not but it just happened.
Oh, yeah.
That was the assignment I got.
So we got the video here.
I got all the good ones. So I got good ones, good ones.
So that's the important one. He says that I got all the good ones. So you've got Joe Biden admitting to getting all the good ones, getting all the good deals, right? Getting all the interesting stuff. Now you've got Hunter Biden, who's just making $1 million deals with foreign investors and foreign countries. Just happens to be also whipping out his phone and calling his dad to say hi while making these multi-million-dollar deals. But remember, Joe Biden said that he gets all the good ones. Like, are we seriously putting 2 and 2 together here and getting 5? Or is the rest of us like sitting there thinking, this is completely suspect? His dad was literally paying...
2 + 2 can equal 5, according to modern mathematics.
Yeah, I like to stick to the world of reality and not this warped reality the left wants to make.
Okay.
But, but like I said, at the end of the day, it's sort of like, does anyone not think he's selling influence? Does anybody sit there and think, nah, you're completely... Well, some people on the left are trying to make excuses for it, but let's keep going.
And so I got Ukraine, and I remember going over convincing our...
So he got the Ukraine deal. He got to handle the Ukraine situation, right? This is the same time as his son is on the board for Burisma, the Ukraine gas company, getting paid $70,000 a month to sit on the board of Ukraine gas company while his dad is handling the Ukraine deals. Come on, people! Do we need to spell this out for you? Come on, like... I can't... If this was Trump and Donald Trump's son, people would be losing their shit right now.
Team or others to convince them that we should be providing for...
Actually, if you want to do it, if you want to prove that statement, remember there was a bunch of claims about what was it?
Trump and Moscow.
Nepotism.
Yeah.
When Trump was in office, they literally were accusing him of nepotism because his family members were in the White House working and doing stuff.
Yeah.
You remember those articles, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. If you know of any, like, off the top of your head, you can just show them.
Oh, there
just
was
for proof.
someone was claiming that Ivanka Trump was doing something. I've actually had the person with my man on the street. I've had a person try and argue this point with me. It's funny because he actually turned around and walked off. He said, "I don't want to talk about this anymore," and walked off. But what I was going to say was, at the end of the day, it was as I said to him, I was like, the person that you could argue was the most to benefit from nepotism under Trump was Kushner.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now Kushner, by the way, or was it Kushner or Trump Jr.? It might have been. I can't remember which one it was now.
No, it was Kushner.
Kushner,
Because
yeah,
he's married to his daughter.
Yeah, Ivanka, yeah. So Kushner signed and orchestrated the Abrams Accord.
The what? Sorry, what?
The Abrams Accord.
Oh, okay. The Abraham Accord.
Abraham Accord, sorry. Yeah, Abraham.
Okay. The Abrams is a tank.
Sorry, sorry. I'm tired, all right.
It's alright. It's alright.
I'm tired. I've got belly aches, and and I'm also dyslexic at the best of times. So what was it? Sorry, the
Abraham. Yeah, the Abraham Accords. Yeah, and by the way, those Abraham Accords were pretty awesome.
Oh yeah.
As far as I understood, it was actually like, wow, like you bringing that much peace to the Middle East.
Yep.
Well done, buddy.
We will show it right here now. Now, keep in mind.
By the way, a lot of people they really go after those Abraham Accords to play it down, you know.
Yeah. So this is by the way, this is Wikipedia saying this, right? So the Abraham Accords are a series of joint normalization agreements initially between Israel and the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain, effective since the 15th of September 2020, mediated by the United States, and the initial announcement of August 13th, blah, 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 concerned only Israel and the United Emirates before the announcement, and followed up agreement between Israel and Bahrain on September, but it actually went through and also conducted Morocco, Sudan, United Emirates, Israel, Bahrain, and United States. So there's about 5 to 7 countries. So basically, the 5 nations could soon follow, including Saudi Arabia, although the others split. So I'm trying to find like a basic overview of what it does.
My understanding is that it does a lot of cool stuff.
It basically brings peace to the Middle East. So what it did was it allowed basically these countries to actually go through and start peace talks and stuff like that. So it was actually really, really well done. Let me just let's see if we go to the official United States Department website. Yeah. The Abrams Accords, a war and peace transferring the Middle East. So with strong bipartisan support in the United States and praise from the countries around the world, the AEE and Israel signed a historic normalization agreement in September 2020 that transforms the Middle East. The Abrams Accord have led to a new form of cooperations in the Middle East and beyond. The signatories are committed to advancing these agreements and promote regional security, prosperity, and peace for years to come. Since the Abraham Accords were signed, people-to-people contact is flourishing and general activity across all areas, from business deals to cultural exchanges, healthcare partnership, and joint scientific initiatives. Like, they literally brought friggin' peace to the Middle East. It's crazy that, like, stuff like this, and this did not get attention from the mainstream media. The mainstream media really did not sit there and pay any attention to this, because if they did, they would have to sit there and amount that Trump did actually something good.
I'll never do that.
Yeah. So, like I said, if you want to make the argument that that the most person to benefit from nepotism was Jared Kushner, or maybe Trump Senior, Trump Jr., you've got, I think it was Kushner, that actually that made this deal happen. This whole thing was Kushner's baby. So if you want to make the argument that the one person that benefited the most about this just happened to pull off Middle East, peace in the Middle East, I'm thinking maybe we got the right man for the job. Like, if Kushner was the most to benefit from nepotism and failed at everything he did, say his name was like, I don't know, like Hunter Biden, then you might sit there and think, okay, it's nepotism, he's only getting the jobs because he's daddy and blah, 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 right? But it's like, no, you can't make that argument, because he literally brought peace to the Middle East.
Yeah.
Like, okay, he might have initially got the job because of who, he's married to, but he brought peace to the fucking Middle East. Like, at some point you got to sit there and think, okay, you might have only got this job because of who you're banging and whatnot. Fine, congrats.
Yeah.
But, like, he still pulled it off. Like, we've been trying to do this for 50 years. Kushner comes in, wangs his dick, bangs it on the table. All of a sudden we got 5 nations joining up. All of a sudden we got peace in the Middle East. And their argument is, oh, well, it was nepotism that got him the job. Okay, but he still got the job done. As opposed to what Biden's son has been able to do with nepotism. Apparently smuggled cocaine allegedly into the White House. And sell crappy paintings for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Because that's no way of front of, laundering money to his dad. Breaking, Joe Biden was more than 20 different business calls with Hunter Biden, according to Devon Archer. So there's 20 times where Joe Biden was on a business call with his son while his son was making multi-million-dollar deals with foreign investors. By the way, is Hunter Biden, he was not listed as a foreign investor. So he's breaking some major US rules when it comes to foreign investments. Because you have to go through and you have to announce and you have to clarify and confirm that you are acting on behalf of the foreign investment funds.
Hey,
Yeah.
So I forgot to tell him.
When you are a US citizen, CITICN, acting, making deals with foreign investors, you have to register as a
I wonder why no one told him.
Oh, they knew. Don't you worry about it. So, ChatGPT, help me out here. While we're waiting for ChatGPT, let's listen to this.
Mr. Vice President, how many times have you ever spoken to your son about his overseas business dealings?
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings. I have never discussed with my son or my brother or anyone else anything having to do with their businesses, period. And what I will do is the same thing we did in our administration. There will be an absolute wall between personal and private and the government.
Do you stand by your statement that you did not discuss any of your son's overseas business dealings with him?
Yes, I stand by that statement. I did not know he was on the board of that company. I've never discussed my business or their business, my sons or daughters. I never discussed a single thing with my son about anything having to do with Ukraine.
Mr. Vice President, how many times?
So we now know this is complete bullshit. That the fact that he was on the phone over 20 times to his son while he was in a business meeting with these people. So it's called the Foreign Agents Register Act, or FARA. Let me just see if I can just add a temporarily display capture. That's fucked it all up. I'm just gonna have to read it out, guys. Yeah, it's on ChatGPT. But it's called a Foreign Agents Register Act, or FARA. FARA is a U.S. federal law that requires individuals and entities to register with the Department of Justice (DOJ) if they've engaged in certain activities on behalf of foreign principals. The law applies to individuals, companies, or organizations that act as agent of foreign principals to represent interests of a foreign entities or governments in the United States. So let's ask, what are the punishments for not registering with FARA? So obviously at the end of the day, this is, for example, if you were to sit on a board of, say, I don't know, Ukraine Gas Company, and yeah, and by the way, Hunter Biden was not registered with FARA. Criminal penalties. Willful failure to register as a foreign agent under FARA is a criminal offence. Individuals or entities found guilty of violating FARA's registry requirements can be subject to fines and imprisonment. The penalties can vary depending on the severity of the variation factors. So what would be the max sentence for a FARA violation?
Is it death penalty?
I don't think it's death penalty, but I think it's like 20 years. So as of my update in September, the max penalty for Foreign Agents Register Act violations are as follows: individuals a fine of up to $10,000 and imprisonment for 5 years. Organizations a fine of up to $10,000. So each act would be up to 5 years in prison or $10,000 fines, and up to $10,000 fines. So if he's been on the phone more than 20 times, you know, we're talking about 20 times $10,000 and 20 times 5 for max sentencing. So we're looking at 100 years, possibly up to 100 years in prison for all the violations. And that's the ones we know about. But this is some serious stuff. Foreign agent FARA violations are pretty bad. And this is, what Senior and Junior were up to. Hey, Gatsby, how are you? Hello, the Talking Fox. Yeah, how are you, buddy? Questioner does seem to be close to the creepy table, even more so than Trump. You're talking about the establishment. Yeah, I don't like Questioner, to be honest. Also, he's also banging my future waifu, so, But I think they're married with kids now, aren't they? Can we just like put like specs in the
Southern is no longer your future waifu?
Well, no, Southern's a bit of a 304 now, so I'm thinking I'm going to end up having.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to. I'm going to have to move on to for example, to Ivanka Trump because, god damn, that woman is beautiful.
Speaking of terminally online and audience not knowing what you're talking about, he's just used the 304 meme.
Yeah. It's probably best they don't know what that means. So, guys, write 304 in your phone.
Write it down on a piece of paper and then and then visualize it.
And then turn it around and look at it from being upside down. It spells a word. But like I say, she's. So I think I'm sorry, Lauren. We're gonna have to break up. It was fun while it lasted. I enjoyed our time together. But it's just the allegations of you sleeping with Tim Pool and every other man under the sun is just I can't do it. Yeah, allegations of you sleeping with Tate and stuff like. Oh, look, I get it. You got tastes and stuff, but this.
Wait, Tate? Well,
apparently Tate too.
Whoa. Oh.
Well, I know. Apparently, Michaela Peterson's slept with Tate allegedly.
Michaela's single, isn't she?
Yeah.
Technically?
You're saying she should be my future waifu?
I don't know. I don't know what the go is with Michaela, but she was probably single, so it was so wasn't. Well, yeah, maybe Southern wasn't. I don't know.
I just want to say
it's all interesting.
Michaela is also very beautiful too. What is with these hashtag conservative women, and we're using that term very loosely here. Like they are stunning looking.
Conservative women actually like try to look like women. That tends to be at least 70% of it. The other thing is conservatives, at least they're the parents, our parents, boomers, that sort of thing. They also do other things too that I probably shouldn't talk about.
Yeah. So I've just
it tends to help with making people look nice.
I just put a photo of Michaela in a swimsuit on my screen, and I'll DM you.
I've never seen Michaela in a swimsuit. What the heck?
So there's that. And it does look like it too in the face too. So unless they've done like a body swap or something, but although it'd be pretty hard to face swap with the hair and stuff too, because that would obviously cause problems. But it's listed as Michaela Peterson. But anyway, but guys, yeah, obviously at the end of the day, there's nothing completely to see when it comes to Hunter Biden. Very scripted by so he's very scripted, buys 66.6 on the 5th Avenue. I think it was more of a bait for us. Now you have Tactical Ferrets. Hello Fez, how are you, buddy? Yeah, are you talking about the place that he brought was like the 666 building number, but it was on the 5th of Avenue. Is that the one you're talking about? I heard about that. It's like it's like and the place has a like bad history too.
I would imagine so.
Avenue, that's the New York address. So it's Midtown Manhattan. It's in New York City. Yeah, Jared Kushner owns it. Yeah, it's Qatar 666 5th Avenue. Yeah.
Why doesn't that surprise me in the slightest?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I've heard
anything to do with people that are involved in That kind of stuff with Zionism. It's always the same.
Yeah, and like I say, I was going to say there was someone that owned it before. That was like a pretty bad history. So ChatGPT, help me out here yet again. Who used to own 650th Avenue? But like I said, yeah, I've heard the rumors about that place. As of my last knowledge, it was previously owned by Kushner Companies, a real estate developer company. The building gained considerable attention due to its prominent location and high-profile tenants. At one point, Jared Kushner, who's the son-in-law of former U.S. President Donald Trump, was involved in Kushner Companies and played a significant role in the property management. I think someone owned it in the 90s, didn't they? Seemed like a bit of a bait for us. 180 million for 3 sixes, of course. Yeah. Look at there's definitely some astroturfing that goes on, where they go through and they start putting stuff like this out just to sort of like try and draw people away from other attention. And we could probably get into why all of a sudden we have massive talk about UFOs when Hunter Biden and Joe Biden information is suddenly dropped.
Yeah, actually, can I take like a minute to mention some stuff about the UFO thing?
We'll probably talk about it in a sec. Let me just finish up like posting all these videos about this stuff.
Never discussed with my son or my brother or anyone else anything having to do with their businesses, period. I did anything wrong, and I didn't realize he was on the board till after he'd been on the board.
Like, does anybody actually believe that Hunter Biden
said it was a mistake on his
did not tell his dad he was getting paid $70,000 a month to sit on the board of Burisma, the Ukraine gas company? He was over there for
He didn't have to. He already knew.
Well, yeah, but like he was like Joe Biden's response is, "I didn't know what my son was up to." Right? Like, if I didn't talk to my dad for like 18 months. Like, you think by some stage this has got to come, like, you got to think by some point, like, if you had a son that had a history of drugs, had a history of being a dropout, all of a sudden he's living in some foreign country, you might think, hey, son, what have you been up to? How are you going? Or do we seemingly think that Joe Biden...
Hey, son, are you winning?
Yeah, like, hey, son, what, are you tighten this shit up, bro? What are you doing, right? Like, like, how's things, son? What you been up to? You been sitting on any boards or making... You seem to be sending all this money to me. Or, sorry, to the big guy. What, have you robbed a bank, son? Do I need to... Especially if your son's got a history of drugs. Have you robbed a bank? Do I need to send the SWAT team or something? Like, what you been up to? Did anybody not think this happened? How does Joe Biden and the people that support him literally sit there and think that his son was on this board for 18 months getting paid tens of thousands of dollars a month, and his dad didn't think to ask what he was up to?
Guess not.
Shit! If I send my dad 10% to the big guy, my dad will be saying, son, what the hell are you doing? Where are you getting all this money? Shit, I can't go a fortnight without my mum and dad asking, how's my job going?
Yeah, my mum rings me quite a bit as well. Do you get a call? It has to be at least once a fortnight, eh?
Yeah.
You'll get a call from your mum, yeah.
Normally I ignore it, but they try.
Jesus. Yeah, if I ignore it, I'll just keep getting harassed.
Yeah, I have it. So I have two phones, my business phone and my personal phone.
Yeah. My
personal phone is on silent, and my business phone only rings when it's connected to the Bluetooth in my car.
Okay.
I have turned off the ringer on the phone unless it's connected to Bluetooth. So people can sit there and literally just keep ringing and ringing and ringing, and until I get into work or start doing work or start my job, it won't ring. It's fantastic. I have no interruptions in my day. But anyway.
Wow.
Yeah. It's weird how the testing it's weird how teasing projects Bluebeam seems to be easy to me though. Yeah. I think Bluebeam wasn't that the project where it was like PsyOps and stuff?
Yeah, Project Bluebeam gets into this whole thing of they're going to stage a fake alien invasion.
Yeah. Banging strippers like Dallas. Look, at the end of the day, here's the thing, right? It's if Hunter Biden is doing crack cocaine off the ass of strippers and prostitutes, fucking good luck to him. Right? I don't have a problem with him spending his money banging prostitutes, doing drugs, and God knows what, right? He's a big boy. He's a big boy. He can handle all that sort of shit. But at the end of the day, I do care when there's allegations that those hookers and prostitutes are underage. And we probably shouldn't get anywhere near that at the moment. It's funny, I just mentioned that, and all of a sudden we just lost everybody off the stream. Anyway.
He was on the board.
I guess that's what happens.
Yep. So, obviously, at the end of the day, we then have... and we have a lot of copium that's coming. So, as you listen to Congressman Dan Goldman talk about Joe Biden's phone conversations, as Devon Archer confirmed today that Joe Biden was on the phone calls with Hunter Biden's business associates, let's address something. If Republicans thinking having a phone conversation with your son's business partner and friend is illegal, why isn't Donald Trump in jail for having conversations with his own business associates while he was president? Now, additionally, the Trump organization made $160 million in business deals while Trump was in the White House. Do you know the owner of the Trump organization is? Donald Trump. Actually, it's not. It's Donald Jr., because Trump Sr. had to stand down when he was in presidency. So, for a start, Ed, you're wrong about that. But also, at the end of the day, those business deals, as far as I know, were already in the works before he announced he was running for presidency, which is also what you haven't also mentioned here as well. They just keep moving the goalposts. Hey, Dad, want to talk to my business friend about the weather? Come on now. But, yeah, like, it's so funny. Like, if this was a Trump thing, they would be losing it right now.
And we have precedent, too, so...
Yeah. All right.
Oh, dear.
Want to get into the whole aliens thing?
Oh, yeah. So the main thing I wanted to mention was...
Let me actually... Hang on, let me bring up the testimony.
Sure. It's just something interesting. AOC actually attended it, and she was all serious too. She was taking it seriously, like not a joke. Like, yeah. Even AOC's into it. And the funny thing too is, the guys that are like testifying, they're doing. At one point, you said that.
Yeah.
And so some of these senators and politicians.
At one point, you said that.
Like, they have these statements under oath, and now they're duty bound to like dig into this, right? To some degree. I don't know if anything will really come of it, but I just think it's interesting that it's happening under oath, and there's so much like people taking it seriously. So yeah, kind of cool.
So
I hope something happens.
Yeah, my view on this. Oh, holy dilly! I'm finding a lot of videos talking about it, and they're all like 2 hours.
Oh, dude, yeah, this is huge news. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find someone that's done a recap for like less than 2 hours.
You probably won't find anything like that, no.
Like, come on, people! Like, this is where YouTube Shorts should come in, right?
Ms. Mace.
Oh, come on! You really want the TikTok version, or do you want the long form content?
No, but my subscribers and viewers will want the TikTok version.
well, get help.
Not everybody has, hours and hours to watch UFO. I don't even know if I have hours and hours to watch all this sort of stuff.
Long form content is good for your brain. TikTok stuff rots your brain.
Yeah, and obviously at the moment we've also been going for 2 hours 36 minutes too. So
yeah,
they've already done long form content already.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, so here we have a Eric Bolson, who's a rep, asking about aliens. Let's listen to what he has to say.
That there has been harmful activity or aggressive activity. Has any of the activity been aggressive, been hostile in your reports?
I know of multiple colleagues of mine that got physically injured. And the activity, and I got
by UAPs or by people within the federal government?
Both.
Okay, so there has been activity by alien or non-human technology and or beings that has caused harm to humans.
I can't get into the specifics in a.
So this is interesting, right? So he was asked, has there been activity that has been harmful to us by aliens, right? And he was and his response is, I can't get into the specifics on in an open environment. Now, my question is, playing devil's advocate here, is he is testifying under oath.
That's correct.
That is a very creative way of sidestepping swearing under oath that there has been aliens that have hurt humanity or hurt humans while they've been here. If I'm swearing under oath and they're asking me point blank, like this question here was very focused, has there been activity by aliens that has hurt or damaged human beings? And his response is, I can't get into specifics in an open environment. It's a very creative way of sidestepping lying if you're like swearing under oath, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, there's probably, there's probably some things there that might satisfy you, though. That, he said a lot of things, not just that.
Yeah.
Hopefully there's some stuff there that might
at least the activity that I personally witnessed.
Feel a bit better about it.
But at least the activity that I have personally witnessed.
And I have to be very careful here.
And I have to be very careful here.
Because you don't, they tell you never to acknowledge tradecraft, right? So.
So what I've personally witnessed myself and my wife was very disturbing.
What I personally witnessed myself and my wife was very disturbing.
Like, what I'm getting at
every day and pick my son up.
What I'm getting at is it's not a lot of specific stuff. Do I think aliens exist? Yes. Do I think these aliens have come to visit us? Yes. Do I think they're at the numbers that the US government is claiming? No.
Well, have you thought that maybe one of the things that might be going on, because if you look at some of these things about net carbon neutrality or carbon zero and all that stuff, right? Have you ever given it any thought that maybe it could be a terraforming thing? Like,
Right, so let's just do... Yeah, I'll answer your question in a sec, right? Let's do the math. The percentage of plane crashes every year can vary from year to year and is influenced by multiple factors. In the aviation safety, weather conditions, human error, other variables, right? The recent years' percentage of commercial aviation accidents that have been relatively low compared to the numbers. So the global incident rate for commercial airlines was approximately 1 accident for every 2.5 million flights in 2019. Right? So we're talking about 1 accident every 2 million flights. Now, say for example, they have, say 10 craft, right? They reckon they've got thousands, but say they've got 10, right? if we apply the same percentage to UFO craft to our own aviation history, we're looking at around approximately, so what did I say? One incident every 2.5 million trips. So say they've got 10 craft, we're looking at 25 million visits to Earth from an alien race using interstellar technology that we don't have, right? So they can manage to fly across the galaxy, but they can't seem to miss a fucking dirt ball, but regardless. Say, for example, we keep the same percentage. We're looking at around 25 million visitations a year. Say they've got 10 craft. Say they've got those 10 craft over the past year. That we're looking at about 25 million visitations a year. Now, if they've got 1,000 craft, we're talking, or what, a billion? What? Say 2.5 times it by 10,000, because my brain's fried and I've been doing this for 3 hours almost. Equals to let me.
If I had to really get into like what the go is with aliens, I mean, there's so many things. I could rant for hours.
So, and I don't mind spending some time on this because people love this conversation. But 2.5 million times it by 10,000 craft. Say they've got 10,000 craft, right? They claim they've got thousands. Say they've got 10,000 craft. That means that we're being visited 25 billion times over the past 50 years.
Well, got to remember that a lot of the claims go back into reverse engineering and then building our own.
No, they're saying they've got craft, alien craft. Thousands of alien craft. Not humans. They're saying thousands of aliens. That we have thousands of alien craft, UAPs. So, according to them, so just using the same percentage, we would have had to been visited by over 25 billion aliens, or we would have had 25 billion visitations, using the same percentage that we have for aviation to our standard of aviation percentage, right? So at the end of the day, for example, say...
I don't think so. I think if you just shot them down and there's only a few thousand visits, you could definitely get a few thousand craft.
So wait, you're saying that we've got aliens that can travel across the galaxy, but they can't avoid a sidewinding missile?
I mean, you got to think of this, right? Like, absolutely, it would be possible to have a craft that can travel through space, and then when it's in our atmosphere, may or may not have the same characteristics of flight as it is in space. I mean,
well, we've seen these things zip around, like.
Not all of them. That you're thinking like the Tic Tac, right?
Well, not only the Tic Tacs, but so the Y-files actually. Let me bring it up.
They recently covered one of them, yeah.
And they actually covered the Ark. They were talking about the Ark.
The most recent one on the Y-files is about the Ariel school.
Yeah. So.
By the way, I watched that yesterday. That was awesome. You should definitely watch that.
Yeah. So I want to mention this one here. By the way, guys, this is the Y-files. If you're not subscribed, please do. These guys do a fantastic job.
Holy shit, yeah. The Y-files is awesome.
So they go through and they show a footage of aliens.
They do show a footage.
Of aliens hovering over what we suspected was the location of the Ark of the Covenant. Now this is footage taken by. So here it is here, right? Now I'm going to put it. Actually, what I'll do is I'll go through and we'll use that. So share, timestamp, copy. It was watch together, right?
Yeah.
Watch together.
Yeah.
Create your room. Post a link as that. Add to playlist. Copy the link. Send it to you. Alright, it's under Michaela. Right.
Even though UFO everywhere.
So it's about 35 seconds in. Right, here we go. Alright, let me know when you're in.
I'm in.
Cool. Alright. Right, so this, we'll turn it down a little bit.
Somewhere under.
Oops.
Somewhere under the Temple Mount. So what does that have to do with UFOs? Well, in 2011, a UFO was hovering over the Dome of the Rock on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. It emitted a flash of light, then shot straight up and disappeared into the...
So keep an eye on this here, around this area here.
Night sky.
Right. Now I've paused it and you can see the streak. Right, here's the streak on this shot. Here it is here. Here it is here. And there it is there, further away, right? So I'm going to rewind it and let you guys see it in real time. It's very quick, but yeah.
The UFO was hovering over the Dome of the Rock on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. It emitted a flash of light, then shot straight up and disappeared into the night sky. This could be just a coincidence, but it could be that the craft was looking for the Ark. The Ark.
So that's believed to be a UFO visitation footage, stuff like that, right? And I would say it's pretty convincing.
Yeah.
I don't know what your thoughts are on it, right? But all right, so that is, we've seen them move like that. This is not uncommon.
Yeah.
There's plenty of footages of them doing similar movements and stuff like that. Are you going to tell me that they couldn't avoid a Sidewinder missile or even bullets?
When they're not moving like that, they absolutely can get hit by a missile. Yeah.
And
so it depends on whether they're currently moving at high speed or not, whether the missile can hit them or not.
Well,
does that make sense?
Yeah, but I presume if you have missiles coming at you, you're going to move.
Well, you'd have to, you'd have to know that it's happening, right?
Well,
it depends.
You don't think they have some sort of sonar or radar or some sort of device that detects stuff like that?
Well, that's a construction of humans. We don't know what they have. We don't know what they may or may not be able to detect. You know.
Well, they're flying through space. That they would have to be able to avoid hitting planets or moons or space dust even or any debris or anything like that, right? So there would have to be some sort of technology that would allow them to go through and
well, yeah, but that would be them avoiding hitting something else. But what about something that is coming at them? That might be a different story.
That's what I'm saying, is they'll just boom and go, and like the missile will be like, oh, where's the fuck to go, bro? Come back. So this is what I say. I find the theory that they can move like that. They can travel through space and time, or at least very much space. They can do intergalactic transfers, but the fact that they supposedly can't miss a flying missile that is, 30, 50 years behind what they're capable with, I find that a little bit...
Well, remember, they have crashed on Earth. There's definitely been crashed vessels.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, that can happen.
Yeah.
So, I think the best way to sort of think of this is, if you were to imagine alien life, and you were to imagine how alien life like works, how they do metallurgy, science, chemicals, all these things, right? And sort of what technologies and concepts that the aliens are into, we are just as completely alien to them as they are to us.
Right.
So our technologies may be in some ways completely just like so backwards compared to what they are capable of, but not all. There are likely certain things that we've done, certain things that we can do towards the aliens that may be completely blindsiding them.
Yeah.
We could shoot them down, possibly. We don't know. I don't. I can't tell you for certain. But if they got a target lock on an alien craft that was just sitting there doing like whatever it's doing, and it's not currently flying away, and it's just sitting there, and they get a target lock and fire a missile at it, the aliens just might be like, "What the hell are you doing? What's that thing you're throwing at me? What's that?"
Yeah.
And they might just be like confused, like, "What are you doing?
And,
What's this?"
And after
then they shoot it at them, and then they explode, and they're like, "Oh!"
And after they lost 3, 5, 10 craft, I imagine they'll be like, "Hey, these morons are firing kinetic rockets at us. We need some way to stop that, or we need some way to detect them at the very least." So, like I said, I'm not saying they're not crashing. I'm just simply saying the fact that they're claiming there's thousands of craft, I'm like, it sounds like an exaggeration for me. It sounds like... So here's my question. Do you think that it is in the government's best interest to make people think that even, and I'm going to steal a quote here from Russell Brand, that think even the skies are that dangerous that we need Big Brother to sit here and to protect us? We need big government spending on military contracts because the fact or the theory that the skies themselves could literally be falling upon us. So therefore we need bigger bombs, we need faster jets, we need bigger ships.
Oh, I think I've watched it. I think I've watched that video. I think I know exactly. Yeah. I remember it. Yeah. I've watched it. Yep.
He has a very good point that at the end of the day, if you want to go through and if you want to spend billions of dollars in military funding, the one thing that you can do is convince the world that the very fact that you might go outside and get kidnapped by aliens would be a very easy sell. And we've got blockbuster movies over the past 20, 30 years convincing us that aliens are dangerous, aliens are real, Independence Day, all that sort of stuff.
If you go back to the early days of Hollywood where they were doing Mars Attacks and all those movies,
And we know that the CIA and the FBI and the government influence Hollywood and have severe influence over Hollywood because there was that operation. What was it? I'm trying to think of the name.
Mockingbird.
Yeah, was that the one where they go through and what was
control the media? Yeah, that's the one.
Operation
Mockingbird was them placing agents in the media organizations themselves.
No, I'm talking about the one where they specifically influence movies. Hoodwinked. I'm not Hoodwinked. Sure. Operation Hoodwinked.
Really? That's the name of it? Okay.
Yep.
Holy shit. Okay.
So
Operation Hoodwinked.
How the CIA hoodwinked Hollywood. I think it's Operation Hoodwinked. Since its inception, Agents has wooed filmmakers, productions, blah, blah, blah. The CIA has a history of spooking the news, dating back to its earliest days where the legendary spy master Alan Dulles and his top staff drank and dined regularly with the press elites of the New York, blah, 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 blah. So ever since its inception in 1947, the CIA has been covertly working with Hollywood, but it wasn't until the mid-90s that the agency formally hired entertainment industry illusion began openly courting favor treatment in films and TV. During the Clinton presidency, the CIA took its Hollywood strategy to a new level, trying to take more control of its myth making. So the CIA hired one of its veterans officers, Chase Brandon, to work directly with Hollywood studios. There was about 50 films, I think it was. The flag-waving Tom Clancy franchise became a masterpiece of the CIA propaganda. This is
Tom Clancy.
Yeah.
What did Tom Clancy have to do with that stuff?
Because it's all
I'm
like
not aware of
patriotism,
that one.
like patriotism, waving the flag. Same with
like you mean like Rainbow Six and all that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that was propaganda, was it?
Well, it's all propaganda. It's all everything you would watch is propaganda at some point.
It's actually interesting because did you ever play? You played PC games like 20 years ago, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So
do you remember the video game? Oh gosh. Oh my god. I had it in my head, and then it just went pew out like a UFO.
So while you're thinking about it, the U.S. government has
The Sum of All Fears. There was a movie and a game, both called The Sum of All Fears.
Oh, okay. I don't think I've played that actually.
Yeah, the movie was pretty good. The game was also really good. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to find out. I can't remember what it's called now. But like Hollywood has been like influencing movies for like the past like 50 years. It's
Jeez.
yeah, it's scary. Like how much they influence things. Like for example, the best example of it is Independence Day. They were told that they were allowed to get fighter support and jet support for Independence Day, as long as they did not mention Area 51.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, obviously that didn't work, and I think they went through and actually used some other countries' fighters, I believe. Independence Day was rejected. US fighters because of Area 51.
Oh, that's crazy.
So here, why the military cut ties with the Independence Day. So ahead of the June 2nd, 1996 release, television commercials emphasized disaster movies, massive alien ships, explosions, and other spectacles above all else. Why? To put many warm bodies in seats. So here, President Whitmore, Bill Pullman, assures Julius no place exists. Secretary of Defense falsely assumes Area 51 does exist in Independence Day alternative history, and also in our history too, because they've since confirmed it. And its existence sends the story into an entirely new direction. It's a direction that Emmerich and Devlin badly wanted to go in, but the United States wasn't happy about it. In fact, in their entertainment liaison, who originally agreed to supply Independence Day with costumes and props, threatened to pull the armed forces support if all references to the base weren't excised from the script. I'll put it on the screen here. You guys get to see it. Right here. Agreed to supply Independence Day with costumes and props. Reference to the base weren't excised from the script. It's one of the most famous bits of behind-the-scenes trivia from the production, which Devon confirmed in his DVD commentary with Emmerich. He said, in fact, the United States military was going to pull support and supply us, was going to support this and supply us with a lot of costumes and airplanes and stuff. Their demand was that we remove Area 51 from the film, and we didn't want to do that, so they withdrew their support. So at the end of the day, yeah, like I say, it's yeah, some of the useless knowledge runs through my head. But like I say, yeah, it's but basically, this is like I say, the U.S. government has been going through and shaping movies for the past 50 years, since the 1950s. There was over 50 movies that were directly tied or influenced by the United States government over the past, say, 20 or 30 years. You know, so like I say, like this is like, yeah. So you have them putting out these films where the skies are literally going to be invaded by aliens. You now have them coming out claiming that there's going to be, that we have thousands of alien craft and even alien bodies. Also, Gabi, I'm mispronouncing that name. He mentioned it earlier. There's also that trying to find he mentions the name earlier. Bluebeam, Operation Bluebeam. So if we talk about that, Operation Bluebeam.
Yeah, Bluebeam can be, and just something interesting, by the way. Bluebeam, I believe, is mostly based on the idea of holographics. Just I think.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. So what is Project Bluebeam? Project Bluebeam is a conspiracy theory about a supposed project whose purpose is to create artificial second coming in order to control people. As the alleged theory, the New World's purpose is to 1. Abolish all Christian and traditional religion in order to replace them with a one world religion based on the cult of man. 2. Abolish all nations. 3. Abolish families known as today, blah, blah, blah. The basics of Operation Bluebeam is actually quite simply put, is the fact that they believe that the US government will go through and fake an alien invasion in order to control the masses. That's the simple version of Operation Bluebeam.
Yeah, pretty much.
And now we've got them going through. We've got them saying that at the end of the day, that you know that we have thousands of alien craft. Here, the whistleblower says U.S. recovered non-human biologics from crashed craft. We can actually put that in here actually and watch it together if you like. Add to playlist, and we delete that, and we play that.
So, do you think there's any viability to Project Bluebeam?
I don't know how far along or how far we are for holographics. I don't know if that would be a real thing, if they could actually do it with holographics, because at the end of the day, I imagine the first bullet or something that would go through it would obviously ruin the illusion. It's very much similar to like in Spider-Man, right? With like how he was using holographics. No, I think it was Spider-Man, No Way From Home, Long Way From Home.
I haven't seen it.
Right, yeah. In that, there's a bad guy who uses holographics and drones and holographics to project this big fight scene, and
Wow.
it was all holographics. It was all done by it was actually done by Stark Technology and their drones.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. But here's this video. Let's watch this and let's listen to what this guy has to say.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning to our witnesses who are testifying today. I want to thank each of you for being here to discuss a topic of grave importance to our national security. Earlier this year, a Chinese spy balloon was shot down off the coast of my home state of South Carolina. Since the Roswell incident in 1947, many Americans have wondered about the dangers of unknown objects crisscrossing our skies. Whether these are UAPs or weather phenomena, advanced technology from American allied or enemy forces, or something more out of this world. So my first question, I have several questions, and if we can just be quick on these first two, I'm going to ask each of you the same question, and then I'll get to each of you individually. The first one, when you reported your experiences with a UAP, did any of you face any repercussions with your superiors, yes or no?
No.
No. I've actually never seen anything personally, believe it or not. So.
All right. And then do you believe that...
So that's interesting. The guy in the middle has actually never seen anything personally, too. That's interesting.
There's an active disinformation campaign within our government to deny existence of UAPs, yes or no?
I don't have an answer to that.
As previously stated publicly, yes.
I think previously with like Project Blue Book, yes, but currently I don't speak for the United States government.
Okay, thank you. I have a few questions for Mr. Graves.
Oh, by the way, I just noticed that's Commander Fowler on the far end there. That's the guy that was on. That was the guy that was on Joe Rogan, wasn't it? I believe that was the guy that was on Joe Rogan talking about aliens.
Questions for Mr. Graves.
Okay.
What percentage of UAP sightings, in your belief, go unreported by our pilots?
This is an approximation based off of my personal experience speaking with a number of pilots, but I would estimate we're somewhere near 5% reporting, perhaps.
So like 95% basically don't report seeing UAPs.
That's just my personal estimate.
In the incident off Virginia Beach, do you believe the Navy took the danger to your aircraft seriously after it was reported?
Absolutely.
A few questions for Mr. Favor. As an expert naval aviator, have you ever seen an object that looked and moved like the Tic Tac UAP?
No.
Did the Tic Tac UAP move in such a way that defied the laws of physics?
The way we understand them, yes.
Now, by the way, the Tic Tac has actually been suspected to be nothing more than a bird.
All right, if you're gonna go there.
Yeah.
I don't like it, but okay.
Yeah. We can actually.
Yeah, that's not very nice.
Well, yeah, the truth hurts sometimes.
I don't think it's the truth though. It can't hurt. It's not. The Tic Tac is actually one of the most notorious ones, but also the triangle one. The funny thing about the triangle one is that it matches some designs that have been found to have some relationship with Boeing. So that's the triangle one, the ones that it's 3 lights underneath it and it's a triangular shape. It's believed to be a Boeing reverse engineered one. So when they say that we've got thousands of ships, sometimes I'm thinking maybe that it's been misconstrued or he has said it in some incorrect way. We may have thousands of ships, but like I was trying to say earlier, I'm fairly certain that when we say that, it's because we've built thousands as well.
Well, they said there's thousands of craft, alien craft.
Yeah, or alien technology derived craft. I don't know how to.
Look,
because the triangular UFO ones, those are supposed to be some kind of Boeing thing.
Look, at the end of the day,
by the way, they also can move like that as well.
So what I was going to say was, look, at the end of the day, I'm not the biggest fan of Thunderfoot, right? But he gets some stuff wrong. But I've seen other people back up this claim, and I believe
strange stories on.
And I believe even the U.S. government has admitted that he's actually right about this.
60 minutes, but perhaps
UFO, which I think you'll agree, blows away completely all the previously declassified and leaked UFO footage. It clearly depicts a craft with no control surfaces, which is hovering and slowly descending. There are no signs of propulsion on this craft, yet it defies gravity whilst emitting this strange aura, which has been widely speculated by experts to be some sort of anti-gravity drive. It was capable of hypersonic speeds observed by hundreds of witnesses, none of whom could explain what they saw because it was jamming their radar. This is it, people. These things are real. The evidence is overwhelming.
And we now have a threat, an unknown threat that we need to figure out.
So, Sean, it's not that you're worried about something out of a movie coming to get you. It's about the threat right here on Earth and how it's being motivated without our knowledge and ability to counter.
The US has already spent over $20 million examining these craft, which display motions that defy our understanding of reality. It's already being taken to Congress and not only covered by 60 Minutes in this viral video with millions of hits, but also covered by the BBC, CNN, and Fox News.
Next month, Congress is set to be briefed on UFOs when a long-awaited Pentagon report is released.
UFOs, it turns out, are real, and whatever else they are a prima facie challenge to the U.S. military.
Stand by for action. I am calling battle station. Anything can happen in the next hour.
By the way, I just want to say Thunderbirds was one of the coolest TV shows ever. Let's find...
I actually hated Thunderbirds.
You hated Thunderbirds? How dare you?
I thought it was the most boring crap ever. Yeah, I used to watch other things like Babylon 5 or Star Trek. Lex.
Oh yeah, I used to watch all that stuff too. Yeah, Lex was good.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
God, that shower scene with her.
I hated Thunderbirds. I just couldn't hack how fake it looked. You know.
Yeah.
Do something that none of these fighter pilots do. I do the numerical analysis.
Although I did
of
like
the actual
Samurai Pizza Cats.
So this is where he breaks down like percentages, like angles and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yep.
Data. Meanwhile, let's take a look at one of these amazing fighter pilots' analysis of some infrared footage. Bear in mind that this is a pilot who claims to have seen hundreds of UFOs whilst not managing to take a picture of any of them.
He told us his F-18 squadron began seeing UAPs hovering over restricted airspace southeast of Virginia Beach in 2014.
Oh, sorry. They managed to get these amazing pictures of them with the world's most sophisticated aircraft in the world's top military.
Every day. Every day for at least a couple of years.
Wait a minute, every day for a couple of years?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and his sophisticated analysis of the infrared footage.
You know, I don't see an exhaust plume.
Including this one.
And tell me again, where exactly is the exhaust plume on this UFO? Oh, that's right, there isn't one, which means it's got no signs of propulsion. Right? And then, of course, there's this ex-Pentagon official who doesn't seem to realize that what things look like in the infrared is not what they look like in reality.
Our meeting with Hollywood visual effects supervisor Sam Edwards.
There's no such thing as a light source that follows around behind an aircraft.
So the system is in black hot mode. What that tells me, if black is hot, there's a cold region. You typically are going to be, warm coming out of the exhaust or near your engine or whatever.
Doesn't that argue that it's not a conventional propulsion system?
Wow, black hot with a white aura means that it's not a conventional propulsion system. So it couldn't possibly be, say, an edge enhancement image processing on the camera or something.
Doesn't that argue that it's not a conventional propulsion system?
Well, yeah, okay, these are the nutty fringe. I mean, what would be real Twilight Zone stuff is if we had the mainstream media, like, say, for instance, Fox News or something, covering an out-of-focus plane as evidence that the US military is utterly outclassed.
So, obviously we're not going to watch this whole thing, but
yeah,
in this he's gone through and he talked about the angles and the fact that it was a bird and that it was because the planes were moving at a certain speed and a certain angle and all that. Now, they spent millions of dollars investigating this. Ends up being that the Pentagon has now confirmed it was a bird.
Wait, that thing with an aura there.
Not that aura thing. Not that aura thing.
Oh.
I'm talking about the Tic Tac videos that came out, right? The ones where you saw those things fly over the water.
Yeah, so the cover-up people are going to tell us it was a bird. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, like I said, you've got independent people that have also gone through and verified, saying that it was actually a bird.
How do they know that?
Because they can go through and measure through like speed and movement. So he he has a really good video.
That's convincing. I'll take your word for it.
Hang on, I'm trying to find the video. Dude, calm down. I'm trying to find the video where he goes through, and here it is. Here, actually, I found it. Oh God, this one's 51 minutes. Jesus Christ, I'm not gonna watch this thing.
I don't know. I like Thunderfoot. I like most of his videos, but I just I think I've seen that one, and it's like most of the time I'm just like, oh, whatever. You know.
Exactly what it is. He comes up with the most.
What happened?
Because it's.
I played the next video.
Thanks. Lead the oversight hearings into Grush's claims. Congressman.
Bathroom next to the shower. Of course, it's kind of.
Are you skipping through the video around?
Yeah, I'm trying to find the spot.
Quickly.
Oh.
I
never underestimate the stupid.
I obviously don't want to sit here and watch the whole 50 minutes.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure.
UFOs exist. The U.S. government found quite a number of them, and they are indeed of non-human origin. Those are the explosive allegations from a former intelligence officer.
So this is the Tic Tac video that was widespread believed to be aliens.
So tonight.
Never underestimate the stupidity of people in large groups. Never.
I mean, these are serious, credible reporters with a track record who ended up reporting out this piece. So this isn't just like some, crank weirdo who's obsessed with UFOs. Like,
actually, I'm pretty sure that's exactly what it is. Spoiler, by the end of this video, you might think that too. This is the witch trial in Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
That he's handed.
Because it's classic.
But in East Tennessee, the American public's ticked off, and I'm ticked off. Let's get to the bottom of it. Let's start bringing some real people in there and quit with all the people that are covering it up, asking them to fix the problem. Because, dadgummit, they're not going to. All they're looking for is another check.
But even if you can get over the whole someone was told something by someone aspect of the story, and that's the 100% best evidence that they have that the US has recovered alien spacecraft. The story is internally inconsistent, which is science speak for bullshit to the universe. Pinprick of light with a 40 or on.
Not as saying that the government has the possession of alien or non-human. In some ways, is the most important story in the world. Like, this guy is one of the most credible people probably in the UFO world.
Who have.
Bang on.
I'm just trying to find it, guys.
Other to crash.
Professional risk.
100 fuel level.
I find it
traveling super fast in our atmosphere.
All of these videos have been leaked in the past, but the US government now confirms they are genuine.
The U.S. Navy just made a stunning admission. Naval officials yesterday
I mean, your suspicion should have been first clued in when, you can just about make out it flapping its wings. What? Boom, 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 boom. The effect is due to parallax. It's trivial to determine from the numbers on the screen. 0.61, 0.62, mark, that sort of thing. Which means that in about 1.5 seconds, the plane will have travelled about 300 meters. Now, why did I choose 1.5 seconds then? Well, because there's a feature that actually whizzes by in about 1.5 seconds when the bird is locked in the center of the field of view. So, we know the field of view is about 200 meters, we know the plane has traveled about 300 meters, and we know that the bird is sat in the middle of the field of view for all of this time. So we know roughly where the bird is in between the ground and the plane. And we know the altitude of the plane, so we can get an estimate of the height that the bird is at. And the UFOologists were like, no way, these are the best trained pilots in America, trained observers.
You're talking about individuals who have very high security clearances. They are trained observers. We've actually paid them and put them through schools to be
trained and very keen observers to scrutinize what they're seeing. Good. These are individuals who we trust to fly weapons platforms, sometimes with live munitions, over U.S. cities.
And one of those trained observers even showed up and tried to contest that this was a duck. The Go Fast video is not debunked. Next time, ask an actual fighter pilot. Someone who'd been an F-16 pilot for 18 years.
So what I did, guys, I thought, like, how can I explain this to you? Like, it's so obvious to me that it's kind of hard to explain. Sit in your garage and hold up a bright light and try and debunk stuff, or you could just ask someone who's actually done this shit for decades and show you definitively with physics and models and...
Good. Twice the pride, double the fall.
So I just had to go back to basics, right? And that's what we do, man. That's what fighter pilots do. We draw it out, okay? It's just so obvious that he's wrong, and yet he's going on national TV, and he's just spreading all this misinformation. So I'm gonna prove easily, it's so easy to prove. I mean, before you do that, dude, please ask anyone who's done this, who's used one of these things. It's obvious to anyone who's ever flown these things is you can't focus at something 10 miles away and then focus at something 5 miles away. It just is not how physics works.
Yeah, I give you a fighter pilot's expertise on optics. Camera's got to have a focal length, right? I mean, oh, hang on, wait. That thing in the foreground that says Mama Shelter is 5 miles away.
It's not conceivable
and the
that
stacks
a fighter
behind it are
pilot might have
power
some training on how to use their optics. Is that right?
No, that's not what he's saying at all.
Okay.
About 10 miles away.
And then focus at something 5 miles away. It just is not how physics works, right?
And that was basically the...
So he was just saying that his whole argument is that you can't focus on something 5 miles away and then focus on something 10,000 miles away. But we just literally saw it do it with the camera. Now, like I said, Thunderfoot's whole argument for this is that the bird, or what he's classing as a bird, was about 200 meters off the ground.
Core of his argument, you know, as a trained professional fighter pilot with 15 years of experience.
It's obvious to anyone who's ever flown these things is you can't focus at something 10 miles away and then focus at something 5 miles away. It just is not how physics works.
You're talking about individuals who have very high security clearances.
The camera has
they are
to
trained
refocus.
observers. We've actually paid them and put them through schools to be trained and very keen observers.
That's right, and that's what we do, man. That's what fighter pilots do. We draw it out, okay? We pencil, paper, man. There's not much video on the internet, so I can't really blame people for not understanding how this stuff works, because a lot of it is classified. And
yeah. Why do I get the feeling the Simpsons were thinking of this guy when they created this meme?
This hyperbolic stuff is kind of annoys me. I'm just like, just hit me with the facts.
Don't worry, Skrull. Now there are plenty of tards out there living really kick-ass lives. My first wife was tarded. She's a pilot now.
A fucking goose? What? Does he think we're idiots?
Yes. In your 17 years of experience, you never managed to grasp the basic level of optics, like what is focal length and depth of field, or why thermal cameras don't always give accurate temperatures. And you're the guy claiming to be an expert. Yeah, I think they had guys like you in World War II as well.
We had a saying in the Army that when the British bombed, the Axis took cover. When the Germans bombed, the Allied took cover.
Like, how would fighter pilots ever fight anybody?
These are individuals who we trust to fly weapons platforms, sometimes with live munitions, over U.S. cities.
But when Americans bombed, everybody took cover.
So the whole thing about they're trained professionals because they fly expensive planes, and therefore they're good at identifying stuff, not such a great argument. Who do I trust? A wing commander who has nothing to gain from this? Or you? Not you.
But when that same story is told by some of the most qualified observers on the planet...
So I'm just going to fast forward.
Oh my god. Exciting
things, UFO.
That's Theodore Roosevelt, 2000.
Beyond
a different method from the same numbers on the screen This is what we call in science a concordant result.
So it's the ocean that looks like it's right behind it is actually 4.2 miles away. But we don't have to guess about this. So we have enough information on this display to actually reconstruct.
They're reporting to us that they're seeing something that they can't explain, and it's...
So just for people that want to know what's going on here, right? This is exactly what Thunderfoot said. Right? He literally pegged this object at this 200 meters, you know, traveling at this speed and all that. And then when the Pentagon went through and investigated it, they went through and found the exact same thing. You know, here's the height, 25,000 feet. Here's the distance, you know, 4.2 miles. You know, like the object being halfway, 30%. It's like literally exactly as he said it was.
Velocity of just 40 miles per hour. So velocity is consistent with wind speeds at 13,000 feet.
They do, in fact, show aerial...
And even after it's been comprehensively debunked, for which you need no remarkable abilities, no science degrees or anything, just the ability to understand basic numbers and do basic trigonometry, which I did some 3 years ago. And hell, even after NASA has confirmed it some 3 years later,
so
paraded again.
NASA has confirmed that the object was actually a duck.
Okay.
They spent billions of dollars to investigate this to find out it's a fucking duck.
NASA has confirmed it some 3 years later.
So, public meeting on unidentified photo, official UCAS broadcast. It's actually put up by the NASA video. We commissioned a study team to examine the scientific perspective, unidentified anomalous phenomenal, UAP. Their finding was that it was a duck.
The same people who tell you that the moon landing is real.
Okay, but like I said, dude, also, like, let's be honest, like, if it was just them, I'd be like, yep, gotcha, on your point. But when you've got them saying it, you've got Thunderfoot, who was able to literally go through and provide all the same research before NASA did their own independent study. And he was 100% on the money when it comes to the height, the measurements and everything like that. Not only that, but also there's also not only him, but also the Corridor Crew, who are VFX artists, by the way, who make freaking movies. Even they've gone through and debunked this and said it's literally a duck. Like, everybody's now saying it was a duck. And this is why you don't hear about these Tic Tac videos anymore, is because they're being debunked. But, mind you, the US government spent billions of dollars debunking it when all they had to do was just give Thunderfoot the $30,000 and he would have done it for it.
What about the Tic Tac videos that show groups of them moving in completely unnatural ways?
Yeah.
There's it, and there's also videos where I've seen it. There's one that was infrared. Actually, it was on an infrared camera, where it looks like there's these Tic Tacs actually are coming from a larger mothership. The mothership is in our atmosphere, and then dozens of these Tic Tac UFOs just come pouring out the bottom of it, and then just shooting off in all different directions. That's like, ducks, is it?
No, dude, stop it. That's not what we're saying. And this is the thing. I'm not saying all videos are fake. I'm not saying all videos are ducks. Right? That's a straw man argument. I've literally shown a video earlier today, literally about 10, 15, 20 minutes ago, whatever it was, that actually looks like an actual UFO.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not saying they're not real. I'm just simply saying that the people that are claiming that the skies might be falling because of aliens, that, we need to spend billions of dollars to find out what's going on, might also have a bit of a secret agenda when it comes to wanting to spend millions of dollars or billions of dollars building bigger bombs and building better planes, and because we might need to fight the alien invasions. And then when it comes out later that you know, that it's a duck, no one turns around and says, oh, okay, you spent $30 billion or whatever investigating these TikTok videos. Are you going to refund the taxpayers' money now?
No, the research was already done. But...
Yeah. Well, you know, we found it was a duck. But, you know, hey, we spent $30 billion or whatever it was looking at these and found out to be a duck. So it was money well spent because it could have been an alien. Like I said, I'm not saying the aliens aren't real. I'm not saying they haven't been here. Like I said, showed a video earlier that actually looks like an alien craft. Right? And it's interesting because people like Thunderfoot don't go near videos like that.
Yeah, I know.
Right? So, but like I said, but when they claim there's thousands of UFOs, oh, we got thousands of crafts. I'm like, okay, but you guys also thought that a duck flying over water was a UFO. So how many of these are actually real? Do I think it's thousands? No. Do I think it's more likely possibly going to be really, you know, like a handful? Probably, yeah. I really do think that aliens crashed at Roswell. Do I think that there's been thousands of crafts between now and then? No, there's probably been like 50.
Interestingly, I'm actually finding that I think that there was a rash of videos a few years back. It sounded like I don't know if you remember them. It was the sound of like a scratching, loud, metallic horror type sound coming from the skies all around the world. It piggybacked off of the mystery booms, which the mystery booms I still think is real.
Yeah.
There's some crazy shit going on in the world with these mystery booms happening. I think it's the UFOs when they crack the sound barrier. They're doing booms, and they may honestly, these aliens either don't care or they don't know that it's happening. But as for the scratching metallic thing, I think it may have happened once, real, and then it was faked, like a rash of fake versions of it was happening. So,
and like I said, this whistleblower, we'll get back to this, has said that the US recovered non-human biologics. We haven't actually watched this yet.
It's possible, yeah.
But like I said, I don't think it's anywhere as bad as what they're making out, because they have an agenda. And the agenda is quite simply is that they want to go through and spend billions of dollars of taxpayer money, because they can then use that money and redirect it to black ops.
Probably, yeah.
Like, the Pentagon hasn't passed a single audit in the past 6 years.
Yeah. Do you know about the theory that humans actually have a fleet of spaceships out in our solar system?
So the Y-Files actually covered that a couple of months ago.
Oh, you know about that one? Okay,
yeah.
We might have a freaking fleet out there. It's like, oh boy,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But
blockade anyone?
Well, it depends if they got FTL or not. You know, like at the end of the day, if there is FTL drive, I'm going to be very, very disappointed because I want it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning to our witnesses who are testifying today. I want to thank each of you for being guys. Whether the first, then do. Thank you. I have a few questions for Mr. Graves. What percentage of UAP sightings, in your belief, go unreported by our pilot? Way that defied the to be declassified. Do you feel there was a good lawmakers from having access to this footage?
What a name, by the way. I love it.
No, I just think it was ignored when it happened, and it just sat somewhere in a file.
For you too, sir, this morning. What percentage of UAPs do you feel are adequately investigated by the U.S. government? Of the 5% that are reported?
I can only speak for my personal leadership over at NGA. I tried to look at every report that came through that I could triage. So.
Do you believe that officials at the highest levels of our national security apparatus have unlawfully withheld information from Congress and subverted our oversight authority?
There are certain elected leaders that had more information that I'm not sure what they've shared with certain Gang of Eight members or et cetera, but certainly I would not be surprised.
Okay. You've stated that the government is in possession of potentially non-human spacecraft. based on your experience and extensive conversations with experts, do you believe our government has made contact with intelligent extraterrestrials?
Something I can't discuss in public setting.
Okay, I can't ask when you think this occurred. If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries, yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
And was this documentary evidence, this video, photos, eyewitness? Like, how would that be determined?
The specific documentation I would have to talk to you in a skiff about.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, so, and you may or may not be able to answer my last question, and maybe we get into a skiff at the next hearing that we have, but who in the government, either what agency, sub-agency, what contractors?
What's a skiff?
Private setting, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Site.
But you can pause now if you want.
Yeah, hang on, I'm just looking it up.
Oh,
what?
Okay.
What is a skiff? Inside the fortified rooms, so pronounce skiff. SCIF. It's a sensitive compartment information facility. So it's an ultra secret room where officials and governments can go, where they can talk about sensitive info.
Ooh, okay.
So it's inside the fortified rooms. So they're like basically think of it like the kind of silence for Get Smart.
Like that room in Cyberpunk 2077 near the early part of the game. When you talk to before the first mission, you go into like this really this secrecy chamber.
Yeah.
At the back of
So it's an ultra secure room where officials and government contractors take extraordinary precautions to review highly classified information. So we will never hear about anything that goes on in that skiff.
Not until it's declassified.
Who should be called into the next hearing about UAPs, either in a public setting or even in a private setting? And you probably can't name names, but what agencies or organizations, contractors, et cetera, do we need to call in to get these questions answered, whether it's about funding, what programs are happening, and what's out there?
I can give you a specific cooperative and hostile witness list of specific individuals that were in those.
And how soon can we get that list?
I'm happy to provide that to you after the hearing.
Super, thank you. And I yield back.
So, like I said, it's a lot of big claims and not a lot of proof. The skeptic part of my brain always wants to see proof. You know, footage, at least footage, photos, something.
I hear you.
Of
Me
this.
too, man. I want it so bad as well, man.
Because, like, if there's alien life out there, great. Give me an FTL drive and the Destiny, okay? I'm off. I'm packing my bags and I'm taking 50 or 100 people. You can come along too. I'll invite you. And we'll go off and we'll fucking explore the galaxy if we have to, right? I love that.
I absolutely would want to go with you, man.
Yeah.
Like, do not leave without me.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, I want to see proof, and I want to see more than what we now know as a duck over water.
Does it quack like a duck?
Does it quack like a duck? Does it flap like a duck? But you know, like I say, it's you know, I want to believe. You know, I'm like Mulder. I'm like, yeah, baby, hit me up. Show me
I grew up,
the proof.
I literally grew up with a fucking printout. A big color photo. My mum got it for me.
Yeah.
It's literally the same. It looks exactly like the one in the X-Files that says "I want to believe."
All right. Yeah.
Like I grew up like with that in my room.
Yeah.
Like all through school, high school.
Yeah. But that's what I say.
Wardrobe.
But that's what I say is like they're making a lot of big claims here, but there's not a lot of proof.
Yeah, but maybe well, they're going to do a skiff, so we're not going to find out.
We're not going to find out. No, but and this is the thing, right? Let's play devil's advocate. Say this is all a big ploy to get a bunch of funding for military contracts and stuff like that, right?
That plays into confirmation, doesn't it? Like,
Sorry?
if they get the funding, doesn't that kind of confirm that, okay, there is a thing going on?
No, not necessarily. They just might want the funding to blow the shit out of Russia. So at the end of, and you know, we're heading in World War III territory. But what I was going to say was, we probably should talk about that tomorrow. Drone strike on the Russia. Great news. Let's drone strike the guy that's got nukes. But at the end of the day, like I said, it might be just, or for example, maybe they want to build new alien craft, or they want to build human craft that are sort of using the same sort of techniques or principles as alien craft, right? Maybe they've looked fucking gravity drives or whatever in some lab. Humans did it, not aliens. And maybe they want to build a UFO or a UFO shaped. And they need billions of dollars for it. You know, so there could be a whole bunch of reasons why they want to go through and redirect funding to these sort of black operations. But like I said, to me, it seems very convenient that they're going on about aliens, while, you know, at the same time we're hearing about Hunter Biden and Joe Biden doing these, you know, 20 deals where, you know, Hunter's calling up Daddy and asking how's the weather. You know, hey Dad, I'm in a business meeting with Burisma and they're paying me millions of dollars and I'm just wondering what's the weather like in Washington. Because that was about the extent of the phone calls so the Democrats would like you to believe, right? But, you know, I do think it's very, very convenient that we keep hearing about aliens, right? As this stuff about Hunter Biden and Joe Biden is coming out at the same time as well. You know, we supposedly impeached Trump or indicted Trump for January 6th. And then, oh wait, hang on, it wasn't about January 6th at all. It was about him going through and wanting to wipe security footage off one of his servers. Which, by the way, is the similar thing that Hillary did. You know, funny how Hillary goes through and can wipe servers and not faces any repercussions. But, you know, apparently if Trump does it, then, oh my God, it's the end of the world. So I do find the timing of this stuff coming out to be very, very suspect as well. Because while everybody's looking up at the sky and trying to find aliens and blinding themselves by looking at the sun, no one is looking down at what's happening at Hunter and Joe Biden. Or no one's looking at the Trump indictment or whatever it may be. Like I said...
Fair enough. I mean, this is plausible stuff you're saying, absolutely.
Yeah. And like I said, I do think there are aliens. Like, you know, I do think we have been visited. I literally showed the video earlier that was probably one of the most compelling videos.
Yeah, that's crazy, that one you showed.
Yeah. We'll probably show it just again, actually, guys. Just to recap. But at the end of the day, it's like, I don't think there's these thousands of craft that they want you to believe. At the very most, that, you know, I don't believe aliens have flown across the galaxy and managed to get here safely and travel light years and millions of light years only to crash into the rock. You know, it seems like, you know, like if you've got the ability to travel that far and that those sort of distances, one of the first things you should be able to do is to avoid hitting the fucking planet. I don't know, just me, you know, like. Here's this footage here again, guys. We'll play it again, just to recap.
Somewhere under the Temple Mount. So what does that have to do with UFOs? Well, in 2011, a UFO was hovering over the Dome of the Rock on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. It emitted a flash of light, then shot straight up and disappeared into the night sky. Whoa. This could be just a coincidence, but it could be that the craft...
So, like I said, probably one of the most compelling videos I've seen. But like I say, but as for some of this other stuff, then I'm just like, well, yeah. I don't know. What final thoughts? Anything that we could talk about? Wrap up?
I think we're good.
Yeah. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this whole alien thing? Do you think they're blowing it out of proportion to get funding, or do you think it's all legit, or what are your thoughts?
I don't know. It's hard. It's super hard to really say for sure what the go is. You know what I mean. Like this you just can't know for sure. I want to believe. That's my best thing I can say. Absolutely, I'll throw X-Files into it, man. Absolutely, I want to believe.
And look, for a guy that spends most of his time playing freaking Star Citizen, Imperium Galactica.
Oh yeah.
I've played every sci-fi game under the sun almost, or at least all the big ones anyway. I'm playing Starfield when it comes out, right? Like,
yeah.
I love sci-fi. I'm writing a freaking 10-year, 100-episode machinima, literally based on sci-fi. I love this shit. Like I said, I've watched Destiny several times through, and probably going to watch it tonight because I've been talking about it. I love that fucking ancient shit. I fucking love it.
I built a Destiny in Space Engineers.
Yeah, I've seen people do similar stuff. I wanted to... So I was making a mod for Imperium Galactic Survival. And in that is... We actually go through and I actually downloaded a model that someone had built for Destiny. And I was actually going to make a mod for Imperium where you actually go through and investigate and research different galaxies to find these, what they call fragments. And once you've got like the fragments, you could then leave the galaxy and jump to the next one.
Oh, cool.
But it was like the galaxies were like actually spaced apart. It was all scaled. It was a freaking nightmare to work out. And I still, one day I'll look back to it. But, like we had, we're putting in, we put in the Milky Way, we put in Alpha Centauri. We put in galaxies and systems and universes. I didn't even know existed. Some of these places were just code names. And we had made this I made this massive map that was about 20,000 pixels. So about 10,000 in each direction. And
I remember you said you were is this the mod you were making for Imperium?
Yeah.
I remember you talking about that. That was years ago, wasn't it?
About a year, 2 years, 3 years ago. And we had Stargates. We had a Stargate on the ship. We got the Stargates working and communicating and traveling to other planets. It was basically just using the teleporter feature.
You didn't finish it, yeah.
The problem I was having was that there was so many systems and so many planets that it kept duplicating names because it kept running out of names.
Yeah, and you know that they actually like the latest version of Imperium basically does all that now. It's all built in now. That like. So gigantic galaxy stuff, yeah. Yeah,
so you're still in Alpha Centauri though. You're still in the Andromeda system.
Yeah, true, you are, yeah.
Yeah, so mine was it wasn't just Andromeda. It was Andromeda, it was the Milky Way, it was a whole bunch of them. I had problems trying to literally put it all in. And we put like gas giants, we put like nebulas. Like, dude, it was looking really good. But my problem was scaling. I had to try and scale it so that it's still... Because I wanted the gap between the systems, but I also didn't want them to be too far apart because I was restricted by the size of the map. But I had downloaded someone else's Destiny, and the whole pretense was that you board the Destiny and then you had control of the ship, and you had to go through and explore these systems, and every system had like a different race. So like, for example, like the spiders in Imperium, they were a certain race. You know, the robots, you know, the mechs was a certain race. You know, the aliens, the Zinard, the Z-I-R-A-Z.
Oh, the Zyrax.
Zyrax, yeah. The Zyrax were another race. There was also going to be races which were completely just drones, right? So obviously, you know, steal it from the show and stuff. So, and then, you know, like obviously, what was that, what's that race that starts with P? Polaris.
Oh.
Polaris was another race.
Yeah, Polaris Corp.
Yeah. So there was like all these different races and all these different, you know, different technologically, and all plays at different bases, and it's really complicated system, and it's actually really cool. But like I said, I fucking love sci-fi. You know, I love this shit. So like for me to sit here and say like, the reason I'm saying all this is like, to me to sit here and say like, guys, like, this is a duck. It's not that I want to not believe, I fucking do. But it's just that I have to go with the evidence. I just have to, you know, someone's provided like a really sound theory that literally gets backed up by NASA and a few other independent people that like, no, it's a duck, then I'm like, oh, it's probably a duck. But like I said, other times, people like Thunderfoot don't touch shit like this, which is frustrating because they want to go through and they want to cherry pick the things that are easy to debunk. Because I presume he's got a narrative he wants to push, right? I presume Thunderfoot doesn't want to believe in aliens, or whatnot. So he's going to cherry pick the evidence that is easy for him to disprove. Because when it comes to stuff like this, or other stuff even, he's like, well, you know, that's harder to disprove. You know, I can't disprove that necessarily. So, like I say, everybody has an angle, so to speak. But that's what I say, people, is like, don't sit there and think like I'm like this biggest UFO hater and don't believe in aliens. I really do. But it's just like, sometimes it's just like, flaps like a duck, flies like a duck. Sometimes it's a fucking duck. But other times you get shit like this and you're like, wow, like, okay, this is interesting. But anyway, anything else you want to say? By the way, just while we're wrapping this up, I just want to say to everybody that there are literally 2 bits of paper here, right next to my desk, and both of them are alien design ships. So, like I said, big UFO guy. But yeah, they're both actually from Stargate. One's the Adronima warship, and the other is a blueprint of what the puddle jumper would have looked like, but they changed it. But I love this old style puddle jumper. It looks fucking insane. But yeah. But anyway, is there anything you want to say before we wrap up and finish for the day?
I think we're all good, man.
Yeah. But maybe one day we'll sit here and we'll go through all the alien stuff and have a look at it all. Yeah. But alright guys, let us know what your thoughts are in that comment section below. Obviously the video has been helpful. Please smack that like button. If you're new to the channel, welcome and subscribe. Holy shit, this is a 4-hour episode.
Yeah, it's like, wrapping it up now anyway, good idea, because I've got 20 minutes before I have to go.
Yeah. Remember when I like sold you this idea, I said it'd be like an hour and a half?
Yeah, most of the time we go over to about 2 hours, but I don't think we've ever hit this length.
Guys, enjoy yourselves. Have a great night. Obviously, this video will be put up on the Spotify channel, so if you do want the full thing, and obviously to go check it out there. Clips will also be put up on YouTube. I'm going to start doing the clips again. I don't know about the previous shows for clips, but I'll definitely clip out this stuff. And have a great night. Enjoy yourself, everybody. You want to say bye, Sat?
Yeah. See you later.
Have a good night, everybody. Enjoy.